sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
Is it time?
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day.
We'll know in a very short period of time, but it looks like it could be something that will be not good. Believe me, not good.
I see issue with that. And again, hey.
You're not going to be able to insult your way to the presidency. That's not going to happen.
I don't know who created
Pokemon Go. But I'm trying to figure out how we get them to have Pokemon go to the polls.
I'm Ted Cruz, and my pronoun is kiss my ass.
So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time in terms of what we need to do to lay these wires, what we need to do to create these jobs.
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to put him.
Not good. Believe me, not good.
Hello, dissidents. Welcome one and all to a very special Tuesday matinee edition of the Do Dissidents podcast. Keaton Weiss here with Russell Dobular, of course.
Hola, mis amigos.
What a pleasure to see you all today. What a pleasure. I am getting a little tired of winning. You know, right around midweek is when you start getting a little tired of winning, you know.
That's when it usually hits me.
It's like hump day, you know. You start getting a little tired of winning, and then once
you're
over the hump, then you know, exactly. What's that?
I find prunes help with that.
Yeah, prunes help with winning fatigue. That's right, as they say. We
clear the winning out of your GI tract.
That's right. They clear the winning out of the GI tract. That's like magnesium for winning. It's a lot of winning. You know, we had Biden drop out on Sunday. We had a wonderful interview with Kshama Sawant yesterday, which we pre-recorded, which we're going to be premiering tonight at 8 p.m. You guys are not going to want to miss that. Tune in tonight at 8 p.m. It'll be premiering on YouTube and Rumble at the same time. It's almost 2 hours long, an hour and 55 minutes. She was on fire as always, but lots to talk about. And I felt like that was a really good combination of like hot takes on news, which she's certainly capable of, and some deeper dives into what it is actually going to take to dig out of this mess that we find ourselves in. And, you know, Kshama is someone who is chock full of wisdom on that. She's really one of a kind. Throughout the interview, she kept saying, I hate to keep referring to my record in Seattle, and I said, no, you have to refer to your record because you're one of the only ones who actually wins. You're actually one of the only committed leftists who actually wins. And so she's amazing. It was a great talk. It's long, but it's fantastic. I thought it was one of the best interviews we ever did. And so we're super excited to premiere that tonight at 8 o'clock.
Definitely. Yeah, I was this was at the top of the short rotation. I said, it's going to look like you're trying too hard.
What's that?
I figured to hold off on this shirt. It was at the top of my rotation yesterday. I said, you wear this for Kshama, it's going to look like you're trying too hard.
Well, she really watches the show. I mean, she's a friend of the show, but she's also clearly a fan because she remembered that you went to India. She talked about that a lot. Yes.
No, yeah. It's too bad we never got around to that wedding because I have footage of those weddings because I was there, not like that wedding. But yeah, the customs for a wedding are you're supposed to go out into the streets and give out like food and candy to the people on the street. It's a big thing. Sometimes they have horses that the bride and groom are riding on and whole palanquins and cars and musicians. And during wedding season, you can see you're walking through a town, you'll see 3 or 4 of those on the same night in different streets. So yeah, no, if we had covered that wedding, I could have pulled that stuff out. Maybe it's not too late.
Yeah, I mean, it did come up. It did come up briefly. Before we get started today, folks, we do want to plug this. While we're talking about Kshama Sawant, we thought we should plug this here because one of the things we talked about with Kshama in our interview, which premieres tonight at 8 o'clock, is the labor movement and the fact that labor is strongest when it has a global critique. And so the People's Forum tweeted out, in a historic moment in labor history and the movement for Palestine, 7 unions representing nearly 6 million workers in the U.S. have signed a letter demanding that President Biden immediately halt all military aid to Israel, just a day after Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu landed in D.C. and is expected to speak before Congress tomorrow, July 24th. The unions that signed on to the letter include the Association of Flight Attendants, the American Postal Workers Union, the International Union of Painters, National Education Association, Service Employees International Union, United Auto Workers, and United Electrical Workers. Good on them. Workers, students, and people from all walks of life will be at the Capitol tomorrow to issue a warrant of arrest to war criminal Benjamin Netanyahu. We will see you there. Don't miss this. So that is tomorrow, the 24th. Obviously, there's going to be a big rally in Washington tomorrow. So this is just a subsection of that. If you want to go to this particular location at 11 a.m. tomorrow, Wednesday, the 24th, on 3rd and Pennsylvania Northwest, wear red to arrest Benjamin Netanyahu. So a great action tomorrow, a very important action tomorrow, and encouraging to see some labor unions get involved in that way. That is what it's all about. One of the things we talked about with Kshama is the need. The first step, always, is to organize workers, and that's where it all starts. And so, good on them for doing that. Good on them for being there tomorrow. If you can make it there tomorrow, please do.
Well, that is where it all starts, and that's why we focused, I think, a lot on that in the interview. I get that question all the time, and that was something I passed on to her. You tell people you're not going to support Kamala, you're not going to support Trump, so what do you support? And, to her credit, she said, yeah, it's difficult to say exactly, but I think the focus is on building labor power. Because in the end, if you don't have that, the PMCs, they don't have enough skin in the game. They're never really going to go balls to the wall against the establishment because they have too much to gain by collaborating with it. You need workers. And when you look at that crowd that didn't run under gunfire behind Trump, those people used to be Democrats, man. The people who went out and got their heads cracked by the Pinkertons on the picket lines, those were those people. Those were those people's grandfathers who did that. You show me PMCs who are going to go get beat up on a picket line.
Of course.
You need those people. You cannot get anything done with those people, and they've absconded to the right wing because from Clinton on, they did everything they could to tell those people, we just don't like you. Eventually, they took you seriously.
Exactly. There is no left without labor. There will never be a left without labor. And so it's good that they are getting involved there.
Without
That's
labor, you've got what you've got now, where people think making a statement about using proper pronouns constitutes a politics. Like, whatever your opinion about that, even if you think that's completely the correct position, is that really what's important right now? Really? That's what you get when you have a left with no material or class analysis and no personal material concerns of significance, of meaningful significance, like, how am I going to eat? Not my rent is too high. Like, how am I going to eat?
Right. Exactly. So that is encouraging to see. It is encouraging to see all of you here. We have a great crowd to start things off here. 1123 in the YouTube and Twitter chat. 1,200 over in the Rumble chat. That's what we love to see. We are on the editor pick screen on Rumble today, so thanks to Rumble for featuring us this afternoon.
Thank you, Rumble.
We hope we deliver for you guys. We will give it our best. Sean Hurl. So is it Killer Kamala or Holocaust Harris? Hashtag Gaza. I think Trump's going to stick with cackling Kamala. I think that's good. I think he's happy with that.
He's been using something else. It's in some of the truths that I pulled up.
Okay.
Which I think is a mistake. I think he should stick with cackling Kamala.
I think cackling Kamala is very good. Will they be painting Kamala as sympathetic to Palestinians and anti-genocide candidates stifle our rabble-rousing in Chicago? It's not going to stifle rabble-rousing in Chicago. I can be pretty confident
Lion Kamala.
of that.
Lion Kamala. He's I don't know how that got out of workshop because he hit it out of the park on the first try.
Yeah, cackling Kamala. It has the alliteration and everything. It's got rhythm. It's got alliteration. Lion Kamala. Boring.
In regards to that chat, I just sent this to Keaton, and I'm going to see if I can find more for segment Thursday. I've been seeing a lot of this, man. Zionists who are going full on, like Rappaport kind of signaled early on that they're going to go to Trump. I'm seeing a lot of them, and they're not happy with Kamala because they see her as more sympathetic to the Palestinian cause. The thing that the Zionists are all howling about right now is she gave some kind of speech not long after October 7th, I guess, where she talked about the flood of Islamophobia and anti-Semitism, but to their mind leaned too much into the Islamophobia, was too sympathetic to that and not enough to the anti-Semitism. So, it looks like those Zionists who were kind of wavering, picking Kamala has pushed them over now.
Well, yeah,
they're not
that.
happy with this choice.
Also, let's be honest here, and I'm not saying this is consciously motivating all of them, and we don't play this card very often, but these white Zionists are fucking racists. If you're a Zionist, you're fucking racist. This is what you have to tell every so-called liberal who supports Israel. If you're a white European and you support Israel, you're a white racist. That is what you are. Very simply. Very simply. So it's not too surprising that they're hesitant to go into a voting booth and pull the lever for her. She's going to have lots in her way, and it's going to be one hysterical campaign season. That we know. That much we can be sure of.
This is gonna be the best campaign season of all time.
It's gonna be the best campaign season of all time. Yo, if she wins, I'm telling you, that will be the funniest shit ever.
This is going to be the MASH of series finales for America. This campaign season.
Look,
that America is sticking the landing. I will give this nation that. If you were going to wrap up the America series, this is the way to do it. Cackling Kamala versus Donald Trump. Boom. I feel like I'm getting my money's worth.
I mean, that is just unbelievable. Like, if we're going to be doing a live show in New York at a bar somewhere. We haven't nailed down a venue yet, but we will. So, by the time in the night where they call it, I will no doubt have a few drinks down the hole. I am liable to literally piss myself laughing if Kamala Harris wins on stage. That might very well happen if she wins, It would just be the funniest political event of all time.
It's hard to say how relevant this is. We decided not to cover it because there are sure to be other more current polls coming out post haste. But a Harris X Forbes poll that was done after the RNC, but before Biden dropped out, had Trump over Kamala by 11 points. It was 51-40 in their polling, and Biden was losing by 10. There wasn't much difference.
I'm assuming there's going to be some post dropout polls tomorrow that we can cover on Thursday. I can't imagine there wouldn't be, because they'll have had 2 weekdays to get it going, your Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So we'll get more of a picture on that as we go. But all right, let's get into some material, folks. So, news this morning. Here's a New York Times headline. Oh, oops, that's not the New York Times headline. That's a nice meme I made that I was pretty proud of. I made that on my phone, too. I didn't even use a computer. That's why the Photoshop is a little basic. But votes.
Look, what I am finding from some of the submissions we've gotten is we have a lot of talented people who watch the show. So I'm trying to... I have solicited a lot of help for my Star Wars video. Hopefully we'll start to have people who can do this stuff and help us out.
I mean, this would have looked better if I did it on my computer, but I was impatient. My ADD was like, no, got to do it now.
It's a funny meme.
Yeah.
It's a funny meme.
Yes.
But, yeah. We have somebody who reached out who does 3D animations. Dude, if we can get people who can do deep fake satire videos, we are going to have a field day.
It's funny because it's true. This meme. It's true. Yes. Harris clinches majority of delegates as she closes in on nomination. On her first full day in the race, Kamala Harris drew endorsements from her final possible rivals, hauled in record sums of cash, and attacked Donald Trump. Vice President Kamala Harris moved swiftly to assert herself as the de facto Democratic nominee for president on Monday. She leaned in. And she knew her value, and she asserted her worth. Girls get it done. That's right. Girls get it done. One day clinched the nomination. Her first full day as a candidate, as virtually every potential remaining rival bowed out, and she clinched the support of enough delegates to win the nomination. So this is not just, Whitmer endorsed her, Newsom is not running, so it looks like her. No, she actually has the support of enough delegates to have effectively clinched the nomination as of last night. The Associated Press said late Monday that Ms. Harris had secured the backing of more than the 1,976 delegates needed to capture the nomination in the first round of voting. The pledged support is not binding until the delegates cast their votes, which party officials said would take place between August 1st and August 7th. When I announced my campaign for president, I said I intended to go out and earn this nomination, Ms. Harris said in a statement. A few hours later, I'm proud to say I did it. Yes. Done. I said I was going to earn it, and they all came to me, and boom, signed, sealed, delivered. Tonight, I am proud to have secured the broad support needed to become our party's nominee. She added, I look forward to formally accepting the nomination soon. Now, paragraph 2. The vote will take place between August 1st and August 7th. As you can see here, the Democratic Party lays out rules to virtually choose presidential nominee to replace Biden. So this came out before Harris clinched the nomination, but they signaled no open convention either way. Why? Because they were greasing the skids for Kamala since they knew she would have the support, and they want to get this done quickly so they get all the signage and the logos and everything made up. And hopefully she will pick a vice presidential nominee before the convention as well. That is one more major reason why they wanted to sew this up early, which they did. Democratic leaders on Monday laid out a new process for selecting a presidential nominee to replace Biden through a virtual process that would conclude by August 7th, well before the party's nominating convention in Chicago next month. Working with the Convention Rules Committee, the Democratic Party is prepared to shift the nominating portion of the convention to an electronic format to ensure that our Democratic nominees for president and vice president are certified before state ballot access deadlines. DNC Chair Jamie Harrison and Rules Committee Co-Chair Minion Moore wrote in a memo. Party officials said they have ruled out an in-person contested convention because of ballot access deadlines, potential Republican legal challenges, and the need to vet a vice presidential candidate. Of course, the ballot access deadline thing is not a real thing. The only state where that would have been a problem is Ohio, and they moved it to accommodate the convention. Republican legal challenges, that may or may not happen anyway, as we'll get to later in the show. And the need to vet a vice presidential candidate is the one that makes the most sense, but given Harris's overwhelming lead, she could have essentially done that anyway. They want to get this done early to get the marketing materials out, and they did not want a floor fight at the convention. They boxed Marianne Williamson out again because Marianne submitted herself for consideration. Rigged it again against Marianne. The virtual process will be open to any candidate who gets 300 signatures from elected convention delegates with no more than 50 from any single state. Candidates would also have to show that they are qualified for the job of president and are qualified members of the Democratic Party. Well, that's kind of a subjective rule, right? Maybe that rule was set aside for Marianne. Hey, you have to prove you're qualified for the job. Qualified according to who?
It's like I've always said. Power crystals and bullshit will only take you so far.
Exactly, yes. As it stands, now this quote is obsolete, of course, no candidate has secured a majority of the delegates to the convention within hours of print. That became untrue. That's how fast everyone coalesced behind Kamala Harris. All right? Within hours. This was printed yesterday, and it was untrue by the evening. It was obsolete. The dates for that process will be announced on Wednesday when the Convention Rules Committee meets virtually. Voting by electronic ballot could be completed as soon as August 1st, officials said. If more than one candidate qualifies, which it looks like they won't, I mean, Kamala has clinched the majority of delegates, but if someone else gets to 300, where they technically qualify, then the voting can be completed as late as August 7th. A VP nominee may be selected before or after the August 7th date, depending on the desires of the presidential nominee. So yes, this was a coronation. This was a coronation. This is exactly what we expected would happen. All of her potential rivals stood down, cleared the way, and after this primary process, this quote-unquote primary process played out, Democrats coalesced behind their replacement nominee in 1 day. 1 day. That is how long it took for the delegates to switch to Kamala, which is exactly why they structured this entire campaign this way, going back over a year. If Biden won enough delegates in the primary to control essentially who his successor would be, they could get this done very quickly if and when they had to, because the people who went to Kamala were Biden delegates. So his endorsement, he was basically kingmaker, and he picked Kamala. They went to Kamala, and that is it. This is now a done deal, all but technically a done deal. She is now the presumptive nominee. Man, 1 day, a 1 day long primary. That's a record. That's really a record.
Well, yeah, this is we're going full Venice here in the Venetian Republic. That was how it's done. It was a true oligarchy. You had an upper class that voted.
Right.
That's exactly what this was. Right? Yep. You just had this upper class, and frankly, it's just a more open version of what it's always been.
Yes.
Right. They picked Hillary 2 years before the primaries. There was never a primary going out there fighting for Bernie Sanders. They were never going to let you do that. It's always been run by this oligarchy. And that's where the irony is. You know, you're going to talk about, oh, the Republicans are a threat to democracy. I would argue both parties don't like democracy, but the Democrats have really perfected the art of shutting it down within their own party. They just do not have democracy within the Democratic Party at all, which this is more honest to me. I think they should always do it this way.
Well, you know,
why waste people's time? Just announce who you want, because that's who you're going to get anyway. Look at what they did here. They've been trying to make Kamala happen since 5 minutes after Hillary lost.
Don't be hateful. Don't be hateful. Remember, Miko says it's hate to say Kamala. Pretty soon it's going to be against the YouTube rules to say Kamala.
I thought it was Kamala. It's not Kamala.
No, it's Kamala.
Kamala?
That's because you're a hater. So it's Kamala.
Yeah.
Pretty soon it'll be against the rules on social media.
First pronouns now this.
Yeah, exactly.
Kamala.
We don't want them to retroactively strike us.
Kamala.
Kamala.
I'm going to have to practice that. Because I've been saying Kamala for years. I mean, not as a thing. I mean, yeah. It's incredible the ways these people find to be offended.
Well, our friend Nick Cruz was on Jimmy's show last night, and, Nick said, that's an Indian name. He says, I don't know how to say that name. He says, I don't know how to say it. I don't know how to pronounce your name either. I'm not hating. Yeah.
Exactly. But no, if they weren't busy finding ways to be offended, they wouldn't know what to do with themselves.
Yeah.
She is now what they're going to try to create this commercial package around. And you can see that happening where they're trying to do from Rosa Parks sat so Ruby Bridges could walk, so Kamala could run. That meme is everywhere now. And what you realize over time, what sweet summer children we were when we thought people made those memes. Those are operatives. Operatives make those memes, and then they plant them all over the place so all the Kool-Aid drinkers will spread them around. They're going to take cackling Kamala and try to make her into this Obama-esque figure. It's hard to say how successful they'll be because, as I've said, when Kamala is scripted, she can be effective. Like, she can deliver her lines like an actor. If you give her lines, she can deliver her lines. As soon as she doesn't have lines, she goes off into outer space. But now, assuming the people behind this are stupid is always a mistake. These people are not stupid. They wanted her for 8 years. She is a terrible political talent, almost as bad as Hillary Clinton, in some ways worse, you could argue. And look, They got her.
They maneuvered
wanted
her to the
they got
nomination
her.
without getting votes, without getting any votes.
Without getting votes, because she couldn't get votes. She had to drop out because she was running 5th in California. She was going to be completely humiliated. She had to drop out in 2020. That's what a piss poor candidate she is. She's such a bad candidate. She was unpopular in the black community that theoretically, in this very shallow way, they believe, well, you run a black person, black people are for them. They're not going to look at her record or anything. But hey, man, you get part of the story here is you got I forget the name of the organization. I think it's in my coverage. It's a black women's professional organization. Those are the black people that she's going to appeal to. That's who they're going to go to. PMC, black people. But in general, in that community, she was not popular. That's part of why she had to drop out. California aside, she was going to lose North Carolina, where she had all of her hopes pinned. So, but now,
South
hey,
Carolina.
Yeah. So now you're seeing that they're really, really going to go full bore with this propaganda push. And hey, if we know Democrats, a lot of them are going to go along with it. A lot of people who 10 minutes ago were talking from that community, were talking rightly about her record as a prosecutor, are going to turn around and hold her up as the heir to Rosa Parks, because that is going to be a very relentless, you can see it now, it's going to be a very relentless propaganda message they're really going to be trying to drill into people's heads. This is the thing, though. She's not Obama. Obama was a great political talent. She is not. Can you actually sell this dog shit to people and tell them it's ice cream? Maybe, but I don't think beyond the base the Democrats already have. With those people, they'll swallow anything. But can you extend that beyond that core? Can you extend it out to independents? I am deeply skeptical. I don't think so.
Well, our friend Dan Richman, our friend and supporter, tweeted out something. The Motley Jew, he tweeted out, the something to the effect of the pro-democracy party has not had a real primary in now 16 years. It has now been 16 years since the Democratic Party has actually had a legitimate primary. Think about that. That says something.
If then, because they always had candidates who it didn't really matter.
No, but I'm saying they let that competition between Hillary and Obama play out. Like the underdog actually did win. Obama came into that race a huge underdog, and they actually let him beat her because he was not threatening to them.
But at the same time, that's what I'm saying.
But it was a real competition. They have not had a real competition in 16 years. Yeah.
But they allowed that competition because it didn't matter. It didn't, like, even then, it wasn't like if somebody like Bernie came along and were winning, they wouldn't have done the same thing. They would have done that then. It just didn't come up.
Right, of course. I'm not stepping down. Joe Biden okayed and will King George V you, the deep state, probably. Thanks, Sparky. Happy Tuesday, gentlemen. It's New Baby Week. It is New Baby Week. Thank you, Len. Appreciate that very much. Okay. Bloodthirsty Mayonnaise. Thanks for the $9.99. No one has seen Biden for 6 days. He was cogent enough to step down, but not cogent enough to be on camera. Is this creepy yet? It is strange that he did not put out some sort of video announcement. Apparently, he is set to do that tomorrow. That is what I'm hearing. That's what Laura Loomer tweeted out, and she's been one of the people who have been most concerned about his well-being, shall we say. Where's Biden? Is he chilling with the man downstairs? Long leg reference. Pretty good movie. Yeah, I want to see that.
Yeah.
Here we go. Biden's recording during Kamala event was Mr. Wilfred Snowpiercer vibes all the way. There we go. Thank you, Bloodthirsty Mayonnaise. Sparky, President Harris can use her Wallace Simpson level oral talent when negotiating with foreign leaders. All right, Sparky, I got to tell you, that's the last time I'm going to read that one. Just like the ragdoll one, I'll do it this time because you're the kind of guy who's going to keep sending it to us until we read it. So that one and the ragdoll one, those are the last times I'm reading those. Just to be warned, I don't want you to waste your money. I know you have a Rolodex.
Look, man, you know, on the Rumble side on Sunday nights, we'll have some fun with those kinds of jokes.
Yeah. And on a more serious
not
note,
in
too, well, I'll
East
get to
Berlin.
that. Yeah, I'll
Not
get to
in
that
East
later,
Berlin.
too. Yeah, I'll get to that later, too. But I do have something semi-serious to say about that. Any chance Kamala can win? I mean, it seems very unlikely. Seems very unlikely. But,
But hey, there's always a chance.
It's always a chance. Never say never, right? Never say never. Miserable Lib, Keaton, I gave you your props last show for calling it on Biden dropping out. However, I must deduct points for getting it wrong about Kamala getting pushed out. Well, originally I thought when they were going after Hunter, that might be a way. If he dropped out because of Hunter, they might be able to get Kamala out of the way too, saying there'd be a conflict of interest. But they did not go that road. They waited until he fell apart at the seams. So yes, that part of it, I did not get 100% right. Hilarious. Seen a post by a friend who is clearly a shitlib who supposedly supported Palestine, but then was cheering to vote for a woman in office. Yep. Well, that's the way that goes. She's not going to go to the. She's apparently doing a soft boycott of his speech tomorrow. She's going to meet with him in private.
She's meeting with him
before his speech. Yeah. So, doing a real Democrat move there. Sparky, thanks for the $5. When Putin, Kim Jong-un, and Xi find out Kamala's a woman of easy virtue, they'll pass her around like, oh, see, you fucked me again. That's it. This is the last time. I caught myself that time. Those two now we're going to have to screen out.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I got distracted for a second. She could totally win, man. I mean, it's not like Trump is a strong candidate.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of vulnerabilities. He's got a lot of weaknesses. And do not underestimate the impact of the abortion issue. We've seen that in multiple races since Roe v. Wade was struck down.
Well, that is what I was going to say, and I'll get more into this a bit later. But Republicans are going to be tempted to really hammer her on her sexual past and her history and the Willie Brown and the Montel and all that shit. This is not the year to do that. Women are not going to love that shit ever, especially in a post-Roe v. Wade world. You do not want to go there. You're the Republicans. You stick to two things, inflation and the border. You do not want to get into slut-shaming and that shit. Not in this context. Really never, but not this year. Women are not going to like that this year. You go down that road, you're tempting them to vote for her. If you're smart, you'll stick to inflation and the border. Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm going to have to repeat that because we need that for the next clip, so bear with me. Not the next one, but in two clips from now. Landrew, thank you for giving Kshama a platform, of course. I love her dearly. She's brilliant and giving. We need her voice now more than ever. Yes, I agree with you. I am Landrew. Well, thank you for that generous donation. Yeah, no, Kshama's great. She's always has something new to say that I didn't expect. She's very smart. She's very interesting to talk to. You know, she doesn't just go out there and give the talking point. She always has something new and something I didn't think of. And she has plenty of that in this interview. And, one of the reasons why she wins, one of the things that makes a good organizer is a good person. She just seems like a genuinely good person. It's like someone who treats people well. And that's important if you're going to lead a team, So, yes, I agree with all that. Okay. We are going to go now to segment number 2. All right. So, we know that Biden is out. Kamala is now basically in. She has secured enough delegates to clinch the Democratic nomination. And Morning Joe spilled a little tea on how this switch came together so quickly. So here they are. Yesterday morning, no shootings last weekend, so they were allowed on Monday morning. They got the all clear. You're good to go. Good to go. So they were very happy about that. They were in a good mood, ready to break some news. And so here they go.
It needs to understand this. I think everybody needs to understand this. It wasn't just the debate performance that was causing concerns. I'll have you get back to that in 1 second. But really quickly, John Heilman, Joe Biden was already starting to slip in Minnesota, in New Hampshire, in Virginia, and a lot of these states that weren't swing states even before the debate. And that was causing an uneasiness in Biden world.
New Mexico, New Jersey, where Donald Trump in some polling it was within a point or two.
Nice to see my friend John Heilman doing so well. I had a very pleasant interaction with him on the campaign trail
what was
in New
he?
Hampshire.
He has a tattoo of a mermaid on his forearm there.
He's got tattoos and chains. He dressed like a motorcycler, this guy, and he covers up real well for Morning Joe.
And I think just as you said quickly, this information that Biden got on Saturday was new to Biden, was not new to others. And some of this polling had been around for several days. And one of the frustrations that people like Nancy Pelosi had was Joe Biden is not getting this information. He's being shielded from it. At one point, actually summoning Mike Donilon on the phone in one of her conversations with Joe Biden and saying, Mr. President, let's get Mike Donilon on the phone and talk about the polls. And so I think finally the information, all of this is recent information, obviously, but it was new to Joe Biden to be presented with things that Hakeem Jeffries, Chuck Schumer, Barack Obama, Nancy Pelosi were well acquainted with. A lot of other Democrats knew in the numbers.
And by the way, just to be really clear here, and Jonathan, I'll let you finish up on this. To be really clear, Rashidi and Donilon loved Biden. They had heard Biden counted out time and time and time again. The family had heard the Democratic establishment just absolutely shit on Joe Biden time and time and time again. And what did he do? He always exceeded expectations. He became president of the United States, as we all remember, in 2020, with the entire Democratic establishment mocking him, saying he wasn't good enough, he wasn't up to it. So
when you had Julian Castro and Cory Booker get on him about his cognitive issues at a debate, they were basically shamed out of the race for doing that. They basically disappeared after that. Well, who else? Who else was giving him a hard time? They literally cleared the path for him, which is another thing. He didn't triumph in 2020. He fell ass backwards into the nomination through an intervention from Obama, and then rode a lockdown to November, where he didn't have to campaign.
They never wanted Biden. As I forget the name of the congressman, came out and said the soft part out loud last week. It wasn't that we thought Biden was the only one who could beat Trump. We thought he was the only one who could beat Bernie.
Exactly.
That was what that was. They never wanted him. They didn't want Bernie. They wanted Buttigieg. They wanted Kamala. They wanted Kamala.
Yes.
Failing Kamala, they wanted Buttigieg. Failing that, they wanted Klobuchar. Anyone but Biden or Bernie. But then they saw, okay, well, Bernie's got this whole working class thing going on. We need a fake working class guy to counter that. We need an old man who can fake that to counter Bernie. So they grabbed Biden. No, of course he lost the first 3 states by a lot.
Yeah. Why do you think 20 people were in the race? Because they needed somebody other than Biden to beat Bernie, and none of them could. And so they resorted to him at the last minute when they had to. Yeah.
No, this whole rewriting of history, rewriting of his record, even rewriting why he dropped out. Oh, he made a sacrifice for his country. They threatened his grandkids to get him out of this race. What are you talking about? Sacrifice.
He took 3.5 weeks after a complete meltdown on a debate stage, the likes of which no one's ever seen, to get out of the race. Yeah,
he never should have been in the race.
No, of course not.
He implicitly promised to be a one-termer.
Yes. Well, they'll get more into this now.
As a background, you can understand why Rashidi and Donilon said, hey, let's do it again, Rocky. Come on, one more fight. You can do it.
Again. You didn't do anything.
And the First Lady and the President's son, Hunter, also firmly behind his decision to stay in the race. They still believed he could win. And as of Saturday morning, President Biden was still intending to stay in this race. But then he talked to his closest aides as the day went on, summoned the family, and then made the decision to bow out because of those polls, because the fundraising dramatically drying up, and because so many Democratic lawmakers had spoken out against them. Now, some of the heavyweights, Schumer, Pelosi, Jeffries, had done so privately. Fears in the Biden camp that was about to change, that if the president had stayed in the race as this week went on, that those leaders, namely Pelosi, were going to go public with the polling, with their concerns, with a call for the president to bow out. Doing so yesterday was a face-saving move. The president and his family wanted to save his reputation and choose his own terms of exit.
All reporting we had throughout the weekend was that Monday was going to be brutal for the president. So yesterday really seemed to be the best time.
There you go. Pelosi breaks it to him. Look, I'm telling you this in private. If you're going to make me say this publicly, I'll have to say it publicly, and then the narrative won't be what a selfless patriot you are who fell on his sword for the country. Now we're going to have to do this the hard way. We're going to have to force you out. Given that ultimatum, he caved. That's what I thought he would do under that kind of pressure, because there's just no way to fight back against that. And so that's what happened. And there it is, straight from the horse's mouth.
Yeah. So as many have pointed out, it's kind of weird that you haven't seen the president since this happened, that he's been hidden from view. Now, I know people have a lot of feelings about New York, but even if you're one of those who hates on New York, there's one thing you cannot take away from us, probably our most storied institution, the New York Post front page.
Yes. There you go.
Queen's Gambit, they never disappoint. Dem elite crown Harris as Biden rages against palace coup. So the kind of inside stories that have been coming out is that Biden and what Scarborough is kind of getting into is very angry. This is like Nixon. It's like Nixon when they're impeaching him. It's his worst nightmare come true, that all these elites that he always resented are going to force him out now that he finally got what he wanted. Couldn't have happened to a nicer guy. But friend of show, Matt Taibbi, wrote an article speculating on this. Who's running this country? If it happened in Belarus, Burundi, or Myanmar, Joe Biden's blitzkrieg withdrawal from the presidential race would have inspired eye rolls. We jettisoned an incumbent president's re-election campaign with all the pomp of an NFL practice squad transaction, announcing the move via a blip of a social media post. Only in America is anyone tempted to take such head-scratching events at face value. The most consequential decision of Joe Biden's presidency was executed by Tweet Sunday via a screenshot of a letter posted at 1:46 p.m. There was no press conference, video, or photo commemorating any human being's participation in the event. The letter wasn't posted on the White House briefing room site, even as lesser news, including a statement purporting to quote Biden at length on climate pollution reduction grants, was posted yesterday. It was furthermore written neither on presidential stationery nor under campaign letterhead and appeared rushed, thanking Vice President Kamala Harris for being an extraordinary partner, but not endorsing her. In a second tweet 27 minutes later, however, at Joe Biden announced, "Today I want to offer my full support and endorsement for Kamala to be the nominee of our party this year." Papers from the Washington Post to the New York Times reported Biden, quote, wrote in a letter he posted or said in a statement he was dropping out. However, we didn't hear from any official spokesperson, not even Deputy Platforms Director Andy Volosky, who reportedly runs Biden's Twitter account, explaining how the announcement came to be. To say a president breaking up with America via digital Post-it note is bizarre is a massive understatement. Any story that puts Biden at the center of yesterday's events is about as convincing as the Michael Jordan cutouts move past the window scene from Home Alone.
It's a very Taibbi-like reference there.
That is very Taibbi. He had the video embedded too. All right, so and here's really the meat of it. Who's in charge? After Biden's cryptic letter came out yesterday, a slew of elected Democrats, including rumored potential candidates like Gretchen Whitmer, Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear, Pennsylvania's Josh Shapiro, California's Gavin Newsom, and both Bill and Hillary Clinton all swiftly endorsed Harris. Harris instantly had her own campaign site, suggesting significant lead time and planning. Even JoeBiden.com immediately became a mirror to the Harris site, while Biden's Twitter face page was refashioned to feature a Harris 2024 banner. For all the world, it looked as if the party had unanimously decided to throw its weight behind Kamala, and well before the weekend, too. So the strong implication here, which he gets into more, is this is a coup in broad daylight. You could not have had all of this in place as quickly as they did if it had not been plotted and planned. And speaking of the Post, they ran another story, I believe, yesterday, where they interviewed an insider who said, as we speculated, that debate was a setup, that this was all part of the plan to push him out, that they put him in that debate knowing how it was going to go. And they had all this ready to go since then, since before the debate, because they knew how he was going to perform.
Well, it was obvious to me as soon as the debate ended, we were doing our live stream on Rumble, and CNN cut to the roundtable where John King says, "I've been getting texts and calls saying this is an emergency. We don't know what to do." I knew then and there he was out, because no one would contact the media with that information if the wheels were not in motion to make a change. It just wouldn't have. Why would they tell John King that? Why would Chuck Todd come on the air with that stuff? Why are you texting the media?
Right.
Unless you're
why
trying
aren't
to
they
set
out there
things in motion?
spinning it as a triumph of the human spirit?
Exactly. Yeah.
So our illustrious once and future president weighed in on this. The Democrats pick a candidate, crooked Joe Biden. He loses the debate badly, then panics, makes mistake after mistake, is told he can't win, and decide they will pick another candidate, probably Harris. They stole the race from Biden after he won it in the primaries. A first. These people are the real threat to democracy. Can't argue with that. It's hard to claim that you're defending democracy when you literally had a coup in broad daylight against a president who clearly did not agree to it, except under severe threat of consequences. And he asks quite rightly, who is running our country right now? It's not Crooked Joe. He has no idea where he is. If he can't run for office, he can't run our country, which I'm sorry, he's not the only one saying that. That is a valid point.
Of course.
The president is too cognitively impaired to run. Then he's too cognitively impaired to continue in his office. But as we have long speculated, Jake Sullivan's been running the country all along. He was never the president.
Exactly.
So what difference does it really make? They're just going to continue to do what they have been doing, pretending that he's running the country.
Exactly.
So here's another. I like this one. It's a new day, and Joe Biden doesn't remember quitting the race yesterday. He is demanding his campaign schedule and arranging talks with President Xi of China and Putin of Russia concerning the possible start of World War III. Biden is, quote, sharp, decisive, energetic, angry, and ready to go. You gotta love him. All right, so another example of how they had all of this ready to go from day one. From what I can see, they're not putting this on X. They're putting it on Facebook. I don't know if it's because Elon's on the platform. Biden was never really hesitant to use X because of that. But so far, I've only really seen this campaign running on Facebook. So this was kind of the teaser trailer.
Donation will help us. Your donation will help us to open more field offices, to get more organizers on the ground. It will help us to defeat Donald Trump again this November. So let's get to work. Thank you, and please take care.
All right, so they had that out almost instantly. Whoops, sorry about that.
Wrong slideshow. There you go.
Yeah. All right, so hey, this has been pretty effective. Kamala Harris's campaign has raised over $100 million. Vice President Kamala Harris's presidential campaign raked in more than $100 million between Sunday afternoon and Monday evening, the campaign said early Tuesday. Harris launched her campaign after President Biden ended his bid for re-election and endorsed her on Sunday. The eye-popping haul includes money raised across Harris's campaign, the DNC and joint fundraising committees, and underscores the vice president's enormous financial advantage over any potential challengers for the Democratic nomination. Hey, don't sleep on Marianne.
Yes.
The campaign said earlier it took in $81 million in the 24 hours after Mr. Biden dropped out. It was the largest amount of money raised in a 24-hour span in presidential history, according to Team Harris. The campaign said more than 888,000 grassroots donors contributed in that 24-hour span. And for 60% of them, it was their first contribution of the 2024 election cycle. A call hosted by the group Win with Black Women brought in $1.6 million alone, Team Harris said. The $100 million haul came from more than 1.1 million unique donors, including 62% first-time donors, according to the campaign. The vice president officially launched her presidential campaign on Sunday, hours after Mr. Biden announced he would be exiting the 2024 presidential race. The president quickly endorsed Harris for the Democratic presidential nominee, and a slew of other high-profile Democrats swiftly announced their backing for the vice president. The Biden campaign quickly filed paperwork with the FEC, renaming itself Harris for President. By Monday evening, Harris secured the support of at least 27 state delegations, surpassing the majority of Democratic delegates she will need to win the Democratic presidential nomination. If those endorsements hold, delegations will officially nominate Harris for president during a virtual roll call early next month, ahead of the Democratic National Convention in Chicago. Well, one person who is really not happy about the financial impact of this is one Donald J. Trump. So we are forced to spend time and money on fighting crooked Joe Biden. He polls badly after having a terrible debate and quits the race. Now we have to start all over again. Shouldn't the Republican Party be reimbursed for fraud in that everybody around Joe, including his doctors and the fake news media, knew he was not capable of running for or being president? Just asking.
Just asking. Can I get that money back? Yes.
He wants to be reimbursed for all the posters they made. Attacking Biden. So here's the fuller trailer of the Kamala campaign going after her opponent.
The former president is a threat to our most fundamental freedoms. He has openly said he is proud that he appointed 3 Supreme Court justices that overturned Roe v. Wade and took reproductive freedom from millions of Americans. He has openly promised to weaponize the Department of Justice. And he has openly said he will be a dictator on day one. So we need your help to make sure that that never happens, that Donald Trump does not return to the White House. Please chip in whatever you can, and thank you. Please take care.
All right, so the Donald is not going to take that lying down. Lion Kamala Harris, the Biden-appointed border czar who never visited the border and whose incompetence gave us the worst and most dangerous border anywhere in the world, has absolutely terrible poll numbers, P-O-L-E, by the way, against a fine and brilliant young man named Donald J. Trump. Be careful what you wish for, Democrats. 3 question marks. MAGA 2024. All right, so that is how the contest is shaping up, and that is how you do a bloodless coup. Look at that. Anyone who thinks the Democrats are incompetent, look at this. Look at the efficiency with which they executed this palace coup and got all of their followers, delegates, potential challengers, got them all in line, got them all singing from the same hymnal within 24 hours.
Yeah, and the only reason it took that long to get Biden out was because he's such an impossibly stubborn prick. Right. Like, they obviously had this in motion going into the debate. They obviously had a contingency going into that night.
Yep.
And I'm sorry, but like the theory that they set him up to fail at the debate, that seems reasonable to me too, because it was the first high-profile event where he really shit the bed at the State of the Union.
Why so early?
They gave him the good thing. Well, I said that when they scheduled the debate, yeah. But I'm saying, like, he seemed to have gotten through the other high-profile events, all right. Why that night? Did you set him up to fail that night so that you can get him out? Is that why you agreed to an early debate anyway, which was something that I speculated early on? This gives them an out well before the convention. I mean, you really couldn't have drawn it up any better. They had the exact amount of time they needed. They had about 7 weeks between that debate and the start of the DNC. That is a comfortable period of time where you can make a switch if it turns out you have to, and they had to, and they did, and it went relatively as I expected. They try to get him out with the lightweights. When that doesn't work, they got the heavyweights come in and lean on him. Hey, listen, we can go to war against you publicly, or we could do this the easy way.
Right.
Done.
So now the next time these people tell you that they just can't raise the federal minimum wage because of the parliamentarian.
Right. Yeah.
Next time they tell you they can't get universal health care because of the insurance companies. The next time they tell you they can't give you free public colleges and universities. Remember the efficiency with which they removed a president of the United States within weeks.
Yes.
Within weeks. These people could do what their voters want them to do. They have no interest in doing those things. They are there to pretend to care about giving you health care and college. They don't give a shit. They are rich, people of the same class as their donors, of the same classes as the corporations that they're supposed to regulate. They govern in the interest of those people. Their job within our system is to pretend that there are people in Washington who care about the interests of the public so that the public does not revolt. Their job is to go through this kabuki of caring about the needs of the people while constantly blaming the evil Republican. This is why. Vote harder and you'll get it. They have no interest in giving you anything. They have no interest in it. If they did, I'm saying the people who could remove an American president in a couple of weeks could probably get the minimum wage raised if they actually wanted to. They could probably get around an unelected parliamentarian, just like George W. Bush did when the parliamentarian gave him a hard time.
Yes. I second all that. Not only did they get an elected president out of the re-election contest, they coronated his replacement within a day. Within a day. Boom. Pulled it together. Yep.
That's why you get those dyed-in-the-wool blue MAGA people, and they'll always tell you whenever the Democrats lose, they need to get better with messaging. Get the fuck out of here. It has nothing to do with it, man. Jimmy always says it. He's absolutely right. They are paid to lose. They're paid to lose.
Yep, of course. Paid to lose and then paid to fail when they get in. Absolutely.
Yep.
2123 in the YouTube and Twitter chat.
You know what I should have done yesterday? I forgot until it was too late. I actually made vegetarian chili yesterday. I should have done one of those cooking videos like you do.
Oh, you should have, yeah. I might do one later. I might do one this evening, actually, thinking about it.
It came out. I finally got to use the chili powder I bought from the plantation in India.
Oh, wow. Awesome. On Rumble, 2898.
In the year 2525.
So thanks, everybody, for being here. Wherever you are, hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Very important that you all do that. And thank you guys all very much for being here today. We will now take a brief pause for a brief word from our sponsors, which is, of course, all of you guys. So if you would like to become a member of this program here, you can go to patreon.com/DoDissidents. That's right, patreon.com/DoDissidents for as little as $5 a month. You get your name up in lights here on the patron scroll. You also get call-in access to our weekly post-show Q&As every Sunday night over on Rumble. You also get access to 2 supporter-exclusive live streams per month. We are doing one this Thursday night at 8 p.m. And we're doing a little special version because Russell and Tusker are going to take over the show on Sunday, since I will very likely be in the hospital getting my new baby boy out. And so that is going to be Russell and Tusker doing that show. They are going to host this patron show as sort of a preview run, sort of a run for Sunday. I will be here. I will be sitting in to take calls from you guys, so I will not be totally absent. But Russ and Tusker are going to run it. I'm going to be in the third seat. I will be the third wheel on that one. So that'll be a fun show. Patreon.com/DoDissidents. You also go to DoDissidents.substack.com or join our locals. If you're watching on Rumble right now, that bright red button underneath the video screen takes you to our locals where you can sign up and support the show for as little as $5 a month. It really helps us out tremendously. Our supporters are the backbone of the show, and those perks make it well worth your while, we hope. Is Chelsea Handler racist?
Caden, we're live streaming the birth, right? We are, right?
Yeah, right, exactly. I think you're allowed to do that on YouTube now. They allow breastfeeding videos. So maybe they should allow births, actually. That would be good.
Yeah, we'll do color commentary.
Yeah, there you go. Take some super chats. See you in Chicago. Get a combo at Punky's. Meat on Meat is Chicago fare. Oh, yeah. Hearty cuisine in Chicago. Punky's.
Well, I lived in Chicago. This is going to be exactly 30 years since I left Chicago.
Wow. There you go.
And I've never visited. I've never been there since. So it's going to be really weird for me walking those streets. Now, it's frozen in my memory, I'm sure now, because I was in Wicker Park, which was like a lot of areas around the country at that time was rapidly gentrifying and becoming this very artsy neighborhood. Now I actually looked up where I lived on Google Maps. And yeah, I mean, it's all Lululemon and what you'd expect. I was there at the peak of grunge.
Yeah, that makes sense. I've been to Chicago a couple times over the last 10 years or so, but I have not been in a while. Trump pulled out a debate with cackling Kamala. Yeah, is he trying to get out of a debate? I don't know.
Well, he's saying they agreed to ABC with Biden, but now he's saying George Slopadopoulos is terrible and it should be on Fox.
Should be on Fox. That's right. Jack, it's so simple. Cackala. Yeah, there you go. That's not bad. Let's see here. If Harris appears to be losing close to the August Dem party, will she then receive lead poison so the Dems could then use the sympathy to install who they really want? I don't think so. I think they're riding with her. I think that's the plan. She's the understudy. She's the VP. That's what they're going to do. Democracy. Psh, Dems 2024. Yes. There you go. My pronouns are calm Allah. There you go. Thank you for that. Good one. Dodger 12, the word democracy is so dead to me. Stop torturing me by using the word. I give, take all I own. There you go. Thank you, Dodger 12. All right. Had a request for the ragdoll one. Oh, you get requests now? You take requests in the chat? Is that you got your own little racket going? Is that what you do? Do people pay you under the table to send super chats? Is that what this is? This is a business for you? Yeah. Hey, Sparky, I sent you a $10 PayPal. Give a $5 super chat. That's how it is. A whole economy, a whole black market. Sparky's running off these super chats.
I'll meet you behind the bus station.
Yeah, exactly. Kamala can win if she is incumbent during a war. Well, she already is incumbent during a war, basically. Dan Richmond, hey, I just gave you a shout out earlier on the show. HRC's true legacy is twofold. One, being the first non-incumbent to clear the entire field ahead of time. Two, selling 20% of electorate on Russiagate fairy tale to excuse her loss to a game show host. Yes, there you go. Thank you, Dan. Appreciate that. Voting isn't real. Coconut Republic. Yeah, the coconut tree thing. That's such a weird name.
I haven't even had time to read. I saw an article about it. I was like, I'm too busy.
Yeah, I don't get that. I haven't even looked into that. Kamala's escapades as California's AG is what Trump should focus on. Yes, that is more like.
Actually, mentioning that, Li Fang has actually done some of the best reporting on what Kamala has done and not done in her time in California. Those were all left critiques, though, that the Republicans would never use.
Oh, really?
I could see they're going to go after her as being soft on crime. The left critique is keeping prisoners in jail past their sentence for slave labor. They're not going to use that critique because they like that.
Right. Exactly. Then I showed her a Track 8-pack post. This seems like a sequel to another Rumble rant. Maybe I read one earlier. That Kamala received already $5 million and already met with Bibi that she continued to support him in his genocide behind the scenes. Response, I was blocked. You got blocked? That is what I got to be careful from an unhinged feminist blue MAGA movement. Yeah, they'll block you for that. They don't care. They don't know. A lot of them seriously don't know. It's amazing. But the ones who know don't care.
They don't care. No. I posted, a lot of you have probably seen this meme. It's pretty famous. Somebody made a portrait of Kamala using pictures of all the people who had to stay in jail past their sentences because of her. And I put that on somebody who was, I'm with her, and they said, those things will happen.
Those things will happen.
I swear to God, that's what she said. Those things will happen.
Yeah, that's funny. The left should have owned Trump's no tax for tips, but then give him the win and F you if you can't handle it. Yeah. Well, no, they're not for that. They're not for that. They want your tips. John M. in Minnesota, YouTube refreshed 3 times in the first 10 minutes. Fuck them, I'm rumbling. Oh, YouTube's having the tech difficulties today. That's a rarity. The shoe's on the other foot, apparently, for John from Minnesota. Sorry, I meant telling her to be careful and to have a thought, and she chose to block. No time for dummies. Got it. I don't know who gave this here. Have you guys seen the video of Kamala saying, Joe, I know you're on the recording, and then quickly corrects recording to call? No signs of life from Biden. Alex Jones says he thinks he's dead. Yeah, I don't think he's dead. I mean, it's definitely weird that he wouldn't even put a video up or anything like that. I mean, that is a funny slip of the tongue there, but apparently he is set to appear in public tomorrow. Tomorrow? What you doing tomorrow? Kamala and I are in the same number of delegates in the 2020 primary. That's right. We're all on even footing with her in that sense, for sure. Email 3344 for views. I wrote it. Okay, you emailed it to us. Great. Thanks, Carrie. Appreciate that. Ruthless criticism. Thanks, Ruthless criticism. Last 3 months, I will look 100% stable compared to the next 3 months. Can't wait for Vivek versus Newsom. Biden will resign or pass. Kamala will collapse. Trump will be stopped, and Vance will be outed. That's a hell of a bet. You could probably get good odds on that one.
Oh, that's quite a lot. That's a
lot having to come together there. They already had signs and banners ready to go. That's right. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right. We're going to move on. We've got plenty more stuff to do today. All right, folks. News is moving so quickly, but this one is still relevant. So this was a piece that Politico printed on Sunday morning. So it was July 21st, 10:30 a.m. So this was 3.5 hours before Biden dropped out. Republicans could file challenges if Biden replaced, Speaker Johnson says. House Speaker Mike Johnson reiterated Sunday that any attempt by Democrats to sub in a new candidate in place of President Joe Biden is likely to be met by legal challenges. Speaking on ABC's This Week, Johnson said every state has its own system, and in some of these, it's not possible to simply just switch out a candidate. Johnson's assertion, which echoed remarks he made during the Republican National Convention, suggests a strategy Republicans could be looking towards should Biden decide to withdraw from the presidential election, which a few hours after this was printed he did. I think in states where it can be contested, I expect that it will be, and they'll have an interesting battle on their hands, the Louisiana Republicans said Thursday of a possible switch. So here he was on Sunday morning on CNN saying essentially this.
President Biden is facing rising calls to exit the race. Democrats are looking into potential legal hurdles to replacing their nominee so late in the process. Do you think that whoever emerges from the Democratic convention as that party's nominee for president and vice president, do you think those people should be on the ballot in all 50 states? Or would you support efforts to sue to keep those nominees off state ballots, assuming it's not President Biden and Vice President Harris?
Look, I'm a former litigator, a constitutional law attorney. I just made note in some comments over the last week that they have real problems. I mean, every state has their own election system. That's our constitutional system. That's the way it's done. And in some of these states, it's a real hurdle. They have a real problem of replacing the nominee at the top of the ticket. Remember, Jake, Joe Biden was chosen after a long, small d democratic process by 14 million people emerging through that primary. It will be very interesting to see if the so-called party of democracy, the Democrats, go into a back room somewhere and switch it out and put someone else at the top of the ticket. I mean, I think they've got legal hurdles in some of these states, and it'll be litigated, I would expect, on the ground there, and they'll have to sort through that. They've got a real problem. You know, it was interesting. I listened to the Joe Manchin's interview, which was compelling at the opening of the show, and he made the point that this is not his father's Democrat Party. It's not the party he knew as a young...
All right, blah, blah, blah. So you get the point there. He didn't back off of that. This was an interview this morning, so that was obviously before Biden dropped out. Here he is after Biden dropped out, and after it looks like Harris is essentially the presumptive nominee.
The states, there are impediments to just switching someone out like that. 14 million people went through the process and chose this nominee, Joe Biden. Now a handful of people have gotten together and decided he's no longer suitable. That's not how this system works. They are violating democratic principles. And I think that's a real problem, and I think there'll be a lot said about that in the days ahead.
Okay. Now, because AOC put out that completely moronic Instagram Live video, I actually did the arduous work of reading all 50 states' guidelines, you know, summarized in a nice little article, right? About a paragraph.
That was really taking one for the team, Keaton.
Well, I wanted to make sure I knew what I was talking about in the event that we did that segment, which we didn't have to, because by the time we would have, he had already dropped out and it was obsolete. But the states make it pretty clear that you have until after the convention deadline to replace the candidate on the state ballot. So I'm not quite sure what he's talking about. The only place this was an issue was in Ohio, and they pushed the deadline back so that it would not be an issue. Republicans would be extremely stupid to challenge her access to any of these state ballots. Extremely stupid. If you do that, you're feeding the Democrats' line that you really are looking to end democracy as we know it. You are the odds-on favorite. Betting markets have Trump at around 60% likely to win. You are running against an extraordinarily weak candidate who has never even been vetted on the national stage outside her own primary, where she was vetted very little because she collapsed before she could be vetted thoroughly. You have it in the palm of your hand. You do not want to go down the road of actually trying to interfere with the democratic process by getting her taken off of state ballots. I understand the line you're trying to walk here. Rhetorically, it is a good point. Hey, they're saying we're the threat to democracy. Meanwhile, they did this bloodless coup after a third-rate primary in a row. Like, I get that. And that's a good point to make. It would be very stupid of them to take it further and actually challenge her ballot access in any state. That would play right into the Democrats' narrative, which is the only narrative they have. They can't run on their record. They can run on January 6th is bad. Trump called veterans suckers and losers 4 years ago, which apparently one guy heard. We're going to take his word for it. And that's basically their whole case. So you do not want to give them a point by going and actually challenging her ballot access. That would be a huge mistake, and I think it's kind of stupid to be talking that way.
I don't think they benefit from it. I don't know that it hurts them. It's definitely not going to hurt them with the voters that are it's not going to hurt them with MAGA, obviously, with Trump's core voters. Also, anything
not with
that
his core
really
voters, but with the swing voters, with the marginal voters, yeah.
Anything that focuses attention on the fact that they literally cooed the president, I don't know that that's great for them. I don't think it really helps them, but I don't know that it hurts them. I think it's kind of a wash because you can't discuss it without discussing what happened here. And I don't think discussing what happened here is really to their benefit.
No, but at the same time, do they actually want to challenge them in court to try and get her thrown off ballots? That's not a good look, I don't think. I think
it's not a good look, but neither is their defense.
No, the Democrats' defense is not a good look, but the Democrats' defense is, look, the guy was falling apart. We had like let's say it were a legitimate reason. Let's say they replaced Biden.
And then how do you explain that he's still in office? This is what I'm saying. Like once you open this up, it's not great for them. Oh, the guy's falling apart, so why is he still the president?
Well, no, but that's what I'm saying. There are ways to have that conversation without actually challenging their ballot access. Because once you challenge their ballot access, now you're taking it somewhere else. I think you can hammer them. They already are hammering Kamala on this. It wasn't a Trump ad, but it was a Super PAC ad. One of the ads said that basically she was lying to cover up the fact that he was falling apart at the seams.
Sure.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. They have that.
I'm not saying they should do it. I'm just saying I think it's kind of a wash. I think on the one hand, it's not a good look for them. On the other hand, any defense the Democrats mount is not a great look for them either.
Yeah, that's true. But I think if you're the Republicans, the way to win this election is to run the ball at this point. Inflation, immigration, that's it. Don't get into this ballot access shit. And don't get into, I mentioned this earlier on the show, but I have to mention this now since we're going to cut this separately. It's going to be very tempting for them to get into her personal history and her dating history and her fling with Willie Brown and Montel and all that shit. And that would not play well to most women under any circumstance, especially in a post-Roe world. You really don't want to go there. You really don't want to tempt normie women to flock to her when they're already flocking back to the GOP because of inflation and immigration. You really don't want to give them an opening to be like, oh my God, in a post-Roe world, if you're going to slut shame like this, like that would be a very disastrous mistake too. And I already see some people on social media doing it. Laura Loomer posted this really kind of sick fucking thing about her and talking about her uterus. I'm not going to get into detail because it's too nasty, but if you're the Republicans, the one word you never want to utter between now and November is uterus. You stay off the word uterus. That would be, if I were writing their campaign playbook, these are words we don't say. Uterus. You have to, if you're the Republican Party, you have to stay very disciplined. If you hammer the two issues on which you are the most popular, which are the most important to people, inflation and immigration, it's almost unlosable. The race is almost unlosable if you stay on that. You start getting into, well, they did a coup, so maybe they're not eligible for the ballot in Michigan. No, that's a loser. The Kamala, sucking on, that's a loser. You don't want to get into that.
I mean, it's not a loser for us.
It's not a loser from a comedic
Rumble.
Perspective. Right, exactly. Yeah. Like, the people are going to make jokes. I'm not saying that, but, like, you don't want to make that a theme of the campaign. That does not play well with normies. You got to keep the normies.
We want to live in an America where women can molest interns too.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, there we go. That'd be a cause. That would be a cause. All right, let's take some more super chats here. Sparky Hunter Kushner 24. Thanks, Sparky. Appreciate that. Garland Nixon noticed Amazon pulled all the books showing Kamala in a bad light overnight. What books are? I wonder what books.
Is that true? Because I can find all kinds of things on Amazon. I've never not been able to find a book I was looking for, even if it's secondhand.
What books? What Oppo books have been written about? That's the other thing now. You're not gonna have as many of these Oppo research books come out, because they did it at the last minute, so people are losing money on that. His Highness, what odds would you give Kamala to win the presidency? I still think Americans are dumb enough to elect her. A lot can happen in 3.5 months. The betting odds have her at 30%. I'd put it a little less than that, honestly. I'd put it around 10 to 20, to be honest, because the Democrats are just spread so thin in the Electoral College. Like John Heilemann was saying, New Mexico is getting close. New Jersey is getting close. Minnesota is very close. New Hampshire is very close. Virginia is very close. Any one of those states fall now, you're screwed, because Georgia, Nevada, Arizona are pretty much lost. So you're just the inside straight you have to pull is incredible, and it's not like Kamala's a game changer. It's not like they're replacing Biden with someone really popular.
They're trying to convince themselves of that because of her identity, because it's all that for Democrats. This is going to bring the young people and all the people of color were starting to drift Republican. They're all going to come rushing back to support Kamala. That's what they're thinking, because there's no polling to disabuse them of that yet. And hey, we'd be remiss if we didn't mention, I don't think it's likely at this point, but Taibbi in his article, and I've seen it other places, have made note of the fact that Obama has not endorsed, Schumer has not endorsed. There are some rumors that some power players are keeping their powder dry for the next couple weeks to see how this goes. And if Kamala is down 10 points in the polls in 2 weeks, you could end up having a floor fight. It's not likely, but
yeah, I mean, I would say at this point, extraordinarily unlikely.
Hey, man, if she is down 10 points, maybe not that unlikely. Who knows? Who knows?
Don't fake like
if
she has
those
Alzheimer's.
polls don't change.
All right, Kamala, here's the plan. You're going to go up there. I'm going to shake your hand. You're going to ask, who am I? Old age comes for us all. Old age comes for us all. His Highness, just FYI, boys, Biden has been seen in public. He's on his way back to D.C. No joke. I'm being serious for once. Oh, so is he?
Okay. So is this the first sighting?
Reared his head. Is this the first sighting? All right. Interesting. Thank you for that. Appreciate that.
And he's moving. There's no way it's a wax figure.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. He's not being held on both sides from both shoulders.
Yeah.
Right. She's a porcupine. If she had as many sticking out as she had stuck in, she would look like one. Oh, thank you very much. Wow. See, now we're gonna have to vet these now.
See.
We need a parody of that song. Hey, Marianne, what's your game now? Can anybody play? Where they let her know she does not get to play, and then she could tell them they should. Thank you.
I mean, the time for that would have been like a year ago. Nobody cares now.
Yeah, nobody cares now. Should really have stepped away after prosecutor Hurd determined he was unfit to stand trial. I mean, he should have. He
should never have run for re-election.
No, of course not. Of course not. It was absurd. Kids in future schools will be looking at historical tweets. That's right. We will have historical records of tweets.
Yeah,
that's right. The Snuggler, Kamala should 100% pick Hunter as her running mate. Yeah, that would be funny. Then you could just do Harris Biden, right? Okay. Let's see here. The coronation of Kamala reminded me of what I thought when he picked her. Holy shit, he found someone less popular than himself. Smart, as it kept them from running him out until the last moment. Yeah, she was, I think, his insurance policy. And it almost worked. It almost worked. But he ran out of steam. It would have worked
if it hadn't been for those meddling kids.
Exactly. Ran out of steam a little too soon. Let's see here. McGuire Air Force Base currently has an ad seeking actors for a mass casualty disaster scenario exercise. Scary. Where'd you see that, David Ackerman? Where do they advertise for that? Where do you advertise for a thing like that? Let's see here. Oh yeah, what is this? I heard something about this. This is one of the other things, like the coconut tree, I didn't bother looking into. Kamala is Brat, Charlie XCX, pop singer. First day of her campaign, Kamala's team changed her Twitter banner to be in the style of her new album, Brat. Very Pokemon Go to the Polls energy. Yeah, maybe we'll do that on Thursday. I just haven't really had a chance to look into that yet. But thank you for that. Republicans may not like the criticizing Kamala's California AG performance. Yeah, this is what Russell said, but Trump can use it because it fits his work with Kim Kardashian. Yeah, no, that's the thing. The Republicans are not really against mass incarceration.
Most of the best critiques of Kamala are left critiques.
Yes, of course. Yep. House Speaker Mike Johnson is naive even for a rube. Thank you, Sparky. Here we go. All right. Let's go to His Highness. Given how demented Biden is, I don't know why his handlers didn't just tell him this was his second term, and then he couldn't run again. Zero chance he'd have sussed it out. Yeah, yeah. You won already. It's 2028. It's time to step down. You did it. You beat the odds. You're like Rocky. A little support, says Brain Socks. Thank you, Brain Socks. Thank you. That's much appreciated. Okay. Let's move on here. All right, folks, more news that broke this morning. Secret Service director resigns after Trump shooting fallout. Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheatle resigned Tuesday over the agency's failure to prevent the assassination attempt against Donald Trump, according to two people familiar with the move. Cheatle, who initially attempted to salvage her position and described herself Monday as the best person to lead the agency despite admitted failures on her watch, revealed her decision in an internal message to Secret Service employees. An agency spokesperson did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Her announcement follows a grueling hearing Monday before the House Oversight Committee, which featured bipartisan condemnations of her performance and frustration at her inability to answer basic questions about how a shooter was not stopped before firing multiple shots at Trump injuring him and killing a spectator at a Pennsylvania rally on July 13th. Both Democrats and Republicans called for her resignation afterwards. So this comes the day after this brutal hearing. Secret Service director, grilled by lawmakers on the Trump assassination attempt, says we failed. So Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheatle said on Monday that her agency failed in its mission to protect former President Donald Trump, as lawmakers of both major political parties demanded during a highly contentious congressional hearing that she resign over security failures that allowed a gunman to scale a roof and open fire at a campaign rally. Cheatle was berated for hours by Republicans and Democrats, repeatedly angering lawmakers by evading questions about the investigation during the first hearing over the July 13th assassination attempt. Cheatle called the attempt on Trump's life the Secret Service's most significant operational failure in decades and vowed to move heaven and earth to get to the bottom of what went wrong and make sure there's no repeat of it. The Secret Service's solemn mission is to protect our nation's leaders. On July 13th, we failed, she told lawmakers on the House Oversight and Accountability Committee. Cheatle acknowledged that the Secret Service was told about a suspicious person 2 to 5 times before the shooting at the Butler, Pennsylvania rally. She also revealed that the roof from which Thomas Matthew Crooks opened fire had been identified as a potential vulnerability days before the rally. Cheatle said she apologized to Trump in a phone call after the assassination attempt. Yet Cheatle remained defiant that she was the right person to lead the Secret Service, even as she said she takes full responsibility for the security lapses. When Republican Representative Nancy Mace suggested Cheatle begin drafting her resignation letter from the hearing, Cheatle responded, "No, thank you." She has since caved, of course, but here are some moments from Nancy Mace really, really grilling her in that hearing on Monday.
Was this a colossal failure?
It was a failure.
Yes or no? Was it a colossal failure is the question. Yes or no?
I have admitted this is a terrible.
This is a yes or no series of questions. Was this a colossal failure? Yes or no?
Yes.
Was this tragedy preventable? Yes or no?
Yes.
You stated earlier, Secret Service is not political. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Would you say leaking your opening statement to Punchbowl News, Politico's Playbook, and Washington Post several hours before you sent it to this committee as being political? Yes or no?
I have no idea how my statement got out.
Well, that's bullshit. So, Mr. Chairman, I would like to ask
she's even nastier than the dog murderer. Which the dog? I get her confused with the dog
Kristi
murderer.
Noem.
Kristi Noem and Nancy Mace. Yeah. Two of the same, syllabic names. So this is I get her confused with the other one. She's not the dog murderer, but she is a tough cookie.
Center enter into the record articles by Punchbowl News, Political Playbook, Washington Post. Is the Secret Service fully cooperating with our committee?
Yes.
Okay, you say you're fully cooperating with this committee. On July 15th, this committee sent you a list of demands of information that we wanted. Has the Secret Service provided this committee a complete list of all law enforcement personnel that were there that day? Have you done that? Have you provided a list to the Oversight Committee? Yes or no?
I will have to get back to you on that.
That is a no. Have you provided all audio and video recordings in your possession to this committee, as we asked on July 15th? Yes or no?
I would have to get back to you.
That is a no. You're full of shit today. You're just being completely dishonest. Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Chairman,
she should really start a sideline as a dominatrix.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
You
Especially in
little
Washington.
worm. Answer the question, you worm.
Especially in Washington, she'd kill. She'd do really well.
She would do very, very well. She has the look. She has the demeanor.
Mm-hmm. Not a bad idea.
Maintain decorum in this committee, no matter
have
how
you provided
upset we
any
get.
and all memos to this committee that we've asked you on July 15th? Have you provided all memorandums within the Secret Service?
I would have to get back to you on
that. That is a no. You are being dishonest or lying. You're being dishonest here with this committee. These are important questions that the American people want answers to, and you're just dodging. How many Secret Service personnel have lost their jobs due to this colossal failure?
At this time, none.
What time did law enforcement become aware that there was an individual on the roof with a clear line of sight to President Trump?
I am still verifying timelines.
Of course, 9 days in, you have no answers. How many minutes went by between the time law enforcement saw and took photos of Crooks and the shooting? How many minutes?
I am still verifying timelines.
57 minutes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I yield back. How many Secret Service personnel have lost their job?
No, sorry. Redundancy in the edit there, but what a brutal hearing. I mean, what an absolutely brutal.
There was no surviving that.
No surviving that. You had no answer. I mean, it was clear that there was just no real investigation into anything in advance of that hearing. She just goes in totally unprepared for that hearing as someone who kind of knew there was no excuse. You know, she looked like someone who was just there to face the music that she was afraid to face, and she was just kind of paralyzed by the fear of what are they going to do to me when I get here, and she just kind of wormed her way through, and to the point where, yeah, I mean, calls on her to resign were widespread. I'll toss to you in a second, but I just want to show this. In a rare moment of unity for the often divided committee, the Republican chairman, Representative James Comer, and its top Democrat, Jamie Raskin, issued a letter calling on Cheatle to step down. So they write this. Today, you failed to provide answers to basic questions regarding that stunning operational failure to reassure the American people that the Secret Service has learned its lessons and begun to correct its systemic blunders and failures. In the middle of a presidential election, the committee and the American people demand serious institutional accountability and transparency that you are not providing. We call on you to resign as director as a first step to allowing new leadership to swiftly address this crisis and rebuild the trust of a truly concerned Congress and the American people. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, she's really screwed now, because normally there's just this revolving door. You leave Washington, you get hired by contractors for services rendered. She already applied to Boeing as head of security. They said, we only hire people who successfully complete assassinations.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We do not hire people who don't know how to kill people on command.
Exactly. Yeah, no, it is quite something. That was quite something, and it was unsurvivable, and that was not the worst of it. It goes on. Lawmakers pressed Cheatle on how the gunman could get so close to the Republican presidential nominee when he was supposed to be carefully guarded, and why Trump was allowed to take the stage after local law enforcement had identified Crooks as suspicious. It has been 10 days since an assassination attempt on a former president of the United States. Regardless of party, there need to be answers, said Representative AOC from New York.
Yeah, it's very big of her.
Yeah, well, she got it from AOC, she got it from Ro Khanna, she got it from Jamie Raskin, and she got it from Nancy Mace, and as we'll see in a minute, Marjorie Taylor Greene. Cheatle acknowledged that Crooks had been seen by local law enforcement before the shooting with a rangefinder, a small device resembling binoculars that hunters use to measure distance from a target. She said the Secret Service would never have taken Trump onto the stage if it had known there was an actual threat. Local law enforcement took a photo of Crooks and shared it after seeing him acting suspiciously, but he wasn't deemed to be a threat until seconds before he opened fire. She said, an individual with a backpack is not a threat, Cheatle said. An individual with a rangefinder is not a threat. So we're going to play some of this interaction between Marjorie Taylor Greene and Kim Cheatle on this question.
Backpack is not a threat.
Sorry.
Why was he allowed to be there?
As soon as the individual was identified as a threat, they were...
No. What do you consider to be a threat? A man with a gun laying in a sniper position, a man that had a backpack, a man that had a bicycle, a man that had a rangefinder. At what point is he determined a threat?
An individual with a backpack is not a threat. An individual with a rangefinder is not a threat.
What about a man laying on a building that has direct line of sight of President Trump with a gun that people are screaming and pointing out? Is that a threat, Ms. Cheatle?
Once that individual was identified, they were neutralized.
No, they were neutralized. Crooks was neutralized after he shot President Trump in the face, Ms. Cheatle.
Yeah, of course. What do you mean? Once we identified him? What are you talking about?
Yeah, it was
What are you
just
talking
amazing.
about?
It
We
was
know
just
there was
amazing.
20 minutes at least between the time he was first identified there and when the shot was fired, and
Let
then
me
he
tell
was
you,
shot
Henry
seconds
Kissinger and
after.
Alan Dulles are rolling over in their graves right now.
Yeah,
This is what it's come to. Used to be when they wanted to whack somebody, they got the job done.
I don't know, man. You know, Mate said he thinks this is basic incompetence, and I'm starting to think it might be, just seeing how unimpressive these people are. Like, it is possible they could just bungle something like this. Like, that is starting to emerge as the Occam's razor. Like, it just, like, they're such sad sacks. You know what I mean? Like, because it's almost too incompetent. Like, it's too incompetent to be a conspiracy. Like, because you would think
It could
it's too
be
obvious.
an incompetent conspiracy.
You could, but it's almost like
No, I said that the first time we covered it. I compared it to the CIA and the intelligence services, which have always had this mythic reputation in America, largely because of the relationship they have with Hollywood, where they give Hollywood a lot of resources and access to bases and military equipment in exchange for script approval. So you get this impression that the CIA is omniscient, and really our intelligence services have always been exceptionally weak. Even at the height of the Cold War, the KGB was much more effective than the CIA was. So yeah, it could be the same thing with the Secret Service, that we've been given this impression of this incredibly capable organization that's just been very, very lucky, combined with, probably as with every other institution in American life, a steady decline of quality over the last several decades.
Yeah, like they're just such mediocre people. Like she is such a mediocre person, this Kim Cheatle. If it was a conspiracy, wouldn't they have their script ready to go at the hearing? They'd know exactly what to say. They'd be sharp. They would put all minds at ease about it. This woman is like, I mean, she's like a high school kid who didn't read the book and now she has to go do the book report. Like, if there's anything, you know, I floated this on the Jimmy Dore show, the lie hop theory, the let it happen on purpose, the like, let's have the B team cover Donald Trump, which she admitted, like, they don't have the A team cover the candidates. The A team covers the president.
Right.
We'll send the novices out there, and if something happens, it happens. Like that, there's a level of malice there that's short of an actual orchestrated conspiracy, because I'm sorry, if it was planned, she'd have a better script. I don't know. I mean, now you get into the world of double psyche, right? Where like, well, do they want you to think that? I mean, how can you go down that road? It looks to me like this is just an extremely incompetent, sad sack of a
don't
moron.
know, man. I mean,
yeah, that's what it looks like to me.
George Galloway has made this point, and it's something I agree with. What 20-year-old kid doesn't have a social media presence? Like, there are a lot of weird things around this. Yes, it could just be that, but then you throw that in, that this kid is such an unlikely assassin, and his whole profile just doesn't add up all that well. It's strange.
It is strange, and the question is always, you know, will anything ever really, does anything ever really add up, right? Does any story truly add up in the sense that does it come together like a script? No, because life doesn't come together like a script. There are holes, there are inconsistencies, there are things left unexplained. And I think if there is a conspiracy, it goes above her. I can't imagine her being in. She's too weak. She's just too mediocre a person. She's just too much of a loser. I mean, just look at that hearing. It's a nightmare, an absolute nightmare. And it's not a surprise that she did not last 24 hours after that hearing.
All right, and I'm just gonna say I've been staying off this angle because I think these arguments are used dishonestly and inappropriately in a lot of different contexts. Is there a DEI element to some of this? Yeah, possibly. I mean, she certainly doesn't seem qualified. Now, the answer to that from defenders of that kind of hiring policy will often be, well, what about all the mediocre white men that have had positions like that? And, you know, that's a fair point, I suppose. But you could also argue that when you have this institutional history where a specific group has been kept out of specific kinds of jobs. Part of the problem with trying to just set a policy of we need someone of this identity in this job in order to make up for that is it's kind of a vicious circle. Well, because people of that identity have not been exposed to this world as much as the preferred group have, you're going to have a much harder time finding people who are competent enough to operate at the highest levels within that world. So maybe starting with forcing everybody into these upper level jobs might not be the way to go. Now, this is only speculation. I don't know. But when you look at some of the agents that were out there, most famously the three stooges by the car, I mean, I think me and you could handle guns better than those three. What the hell were they doing there? It's hard to see that decision as anything other than an attempt to diversify at the expense of the quality of the agents.
Well, they've said they want 30% female agents by whatever the year is, right? Which implies
you can't take
a quota
that approach.
system. Right. And I think if you're looking at any kind of nefarious motive, I think it is putting the pieces in place for something like this to happen. Now, yeah, the shooter biography, yeah, all that. I mean, that's all stuff we don't know yet. This was a Secret Service hearing. This was not, looking into the shooter himself, and that all has to be investigated more, obviously, because there are obviously more questions than answers there. And I'm not saying it's not suspicious or it's not a possibility, but when you look at the level of mediocrity on display at this hearing, it's less surprising that this could happen. Like, at first you see this happen and you're like, how can this happen? You see her just crumble at the most basic questions, go in not prepared at all. It makes you think, oh yeah, well, I guess it's not as unbelievable as it seemed at first. Yeah.
Well, split the difference, man. Maybe she's the fall guy.
Well, somebody said in the chat here that, conspiracy versus incompetence is a false dichotomy, and you're right. In many senses it is. Because in many senses, it's quite possible that it's a combination of both.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
I mean, that is the strongest.
They knew they had a head of the Secret Service incompetent enough to slip a conspiracy right under their nose.
Exactly, and they had the B team out there to begin with because the A team is with the president. Why is there an A team and a B team? Why don't you have a bunch of really qualified people? What is it? Less
Shouldn't everyone
tragic
be
if
an
the
A
candidate
team for
gets
this
shot?
job?
Yeah, right. Like, is it less of a tragedy if the candidate gets shot than if the president gets shot? I mean, it's less paperwork, but that's still a cataclysmic event that you obviously can't afford to have happen, especially in this context where you would be looking at a civil war type of situation. So yeah, an absolute mess. But after that hearing, there was no way she could not resign. I mean, you have to fold after that, and she did pretty quickly, faster than Kamala won the nomination. She resigned. She didn't even last 24 hours. I think Kamala took 30 hours. I think it was like a day and change. 24 and change. This less so. All right. Where's Skill? Don Weiss, I'm honored and grateful that you have invited me to your Thursday show. On the day of Kamala's coronation, I hope your third child will be masculine child. I pledge my ever-ending loyalty. Thank you. Thank you, Where's Skill? Appreciate that. If Trump and Kamala debate, he can mention her taking campaign donations from him while running for AG of California to expose her hypocrisy. Is that true? He donated to her? That's interesting. Pete Sweets, here we go. End of the Dem Party, force-feeding a Kamala down voters' throats. Contempt for the working class every election with tired phrase, where else you going to go? This election, the couch. There you go, Pete Sweet. Thank you for that. Let's see here. Nas M. I live in New Jersey, and it's not as blue as you think. No, it's not as blue as you think.
No. Well, Heilman said there that they were having trouble in New Jersey with Biden.
That's right. If Kamala implodes over the next few weeks, to whom do Democrats turn? Gotta wait and see. I mean, how does she implode over the next 2 weeks? Does she just... Are the polls looking bad?
If the polling does not improve.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing they could really do about... I mean, there's no chance for her to implode, but if the polling
she
doesn't
stays
improve...
down 10, 11 points on Trump, do they do something desperate?
we're going to learn a lot, later this week. I'm almost certain there will be polls come out, if not tomorrow, certainly by Thursday and Friday, of polls that are post Biden dropping out, post Kamala, clinching the nomination. That's when you'll get your first real sense of where it stands. Because as long as Biden was in the race, Kamala was enough of a generic Democrat alternative to the point where you don't really know how people are thinking when they answer that polling question. Now that it's real, head to head, this is what it's going to be. I think those polls will be much more accurate, and you'll get a much better sense of that. $1 Million Trooper, I'm not sure I consider it a coup when it's within one party unless we have habeas corpus, so to speak. R.I.P. JFK. Thank you.
Well, no, that's not true because he's not the president of a party. He's the president of the United States.
Of the country.
And his party removed him for all people of the country.
That's right. Now, they didn't take him out of office, but they took him out of contention.
Right.
Hey, did you see the Secret Service director resigns? Yes, we did. Thank you, my real name. Appreciate that. Let's see here. Seeing shitlibs falling over themselves to brag about Kamala's BTS program, which only freed 241 people from 2007 to 11. She gave out almost 600 felony MJ charges, marijuana charges, in the same time frame. Yeah, I mean, you really have to be a low-quality person to be a prosecutor, given, the war on drugs. It's not like you're going after actual criminals. You're going after mostly poor people for drug crimes. I mean, you really have to be a soulless piece of shit that want to go into that line of work. Yeah. Okay, let's see here. Crab Eater's Real, congrats on your baby boy, Keaton. Thank you. I'll miss you on the streams, but I'm looking forward to Tusker converting Russ to communism. Much love to all three of you. Thank you.
Well, no, you know what? I mean, not that I'm going to convert. She actually made a great point to me that did make me order some books of theory, beyond the Communist Manifesto. Post collapse of the Soviet Union, we tend to think of communism as a defunct system, but China, Vietnam, Cuba, that represents over 1 billion people. I mean, that's a lot of people who, whether you feel they're actually practicing that's another question, but their guiding inspiration is Marxism, Leninism. That's their vision. That's how they see themselves. So it is worth looking at because you can't understand a good portion of the system the human race are living under if you don't understand that. They're steeped in these writings in a way that we're not.
Of course. Keaton, just think in 18 years, your newborn will be automatically registered for the drafts. There you go. In 13 years, I got my 2 guys as well. Kuznetsky Bassane, thanks for the $2.99. Appreciate that. Tavis Gibbons, thanks for the $1.99. Going to D.C. from New Hampshire for the protest. Thank you for the info. Oh, well, glad we could make that happen. Glad we could inspire it if, in fact, we did. And good on you for being there, Tavis. Appreciate that very much. Russ tweeted you a video on how to pronounce Kamala. There you go. Thank you. Appreciate that. We don't want Russell to get in trouble. If you haven't already, you should clip the Nancy Mace "you're full of shit" quote and use it routinely as a sound drop. Yeah, that's an idea. Thanks, Sparky. Appreciate that.
Well, we definitely have to clip a Kamala cackle.
Oh, yeah. No, for sure. Sparky, break it off in BlackRock. Make Ukraine Russia again. Thank you, sir. Jeannie and Heidi. Let's see here. If the Republicans had any sense, they would have presented the Gold Star Families video and stage presentation right before Trump's speech instead of fucking Kid Rock and Hulk Hogan. Yeah, that's a good point. That is a good point. I think that would have played a little better.
Instead of going full idiocracy.
Yeah, right, exactly. I mean, I don't think Kid Rock probably wouldn't have agreed to go unless he could be right before Trump. He probably demanded a headline slot.
Yeah.
If it is true regarding Kamala book removal from Amazon, clearly the establishment favors Kamala. I would recommend just vote for any third parties, even if they don't win. Vote for independence. Thank you.
I don't know how true that is. I would have to see that for myself.
Interesting.
Because as you started to say, she hasn't been significant enough for anyone to write a book about her. Like, what book would that be?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't know what Oppo research books there are on her. All this over here in Europa, we live on edge of nuclear war. Middle East is aflame and peace off-ramp is becoming a pothole. A war criminal with arrest warrant wanders streets of D.C. Stop the world. I want to get off. Thank you, Sean Hurt. Appreciate that. Imagine a hearing like this about war crimes. Yes, good point. With long hair, Crooks was clearly not law enforcement in a counter-sniper role in that setting. Well, of course, he was wearing something completely different. All the Secret Service were dressed in black, and he's up there completely different colors. He couldn't have been mistaken for one of them. Let's see here. You know what pisses me off, says Me Shoot Skeet. This lady can't speak the truth, as in the FBI was in on it, and she is the fall gal. These politicians know it, too. Thank you, Me Shoot Skeet.
That's what I'm saying. Maybe, she's another patsy.
Of course. Yeah, of course. That's certainly possible. Some say instead of collecting evidence and analyzing the crime scene, they quickly hosed off the roof, brains and all. Thank you, Sparky. Incompetence was weaponized to make the solo actor, lone loser gunman seem plausible. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Okay. Notice the Secret Service had snipers on a rooftop at the ready to play Jack Ruby in order to silence Oswald quickly instead of protecting Trump. Thank you, Sparky. It could be a coincidence. A lot of people who wanted it to happen independently, so they let it happen until they realized it was serious. No, I think the people there were just fumbled. I really do think that. I mean, that could be wrong. It's all speculation. It's all speculation. But for that to come together takes a lot of things to go right or wrong, depending on, how you think of it. Yeah, I suspect if there was anything going on, it was at a higher level. That just seemed to be the B team, and it just seems to be. It just seemed to be negligent. They seem to just have choked. I don't know what to say. It's impossible to say. But you saw in that hearing, I mean, there was just, that was not the person you would send out there to cover something up. Like you would prep someone better for that if you were going to do that. That's what I'm saying. Okay. Let's see here. One underappreciated assassination theory is the U.S. Secret Service was compromised by a foreign intel agency. Crooks was on 3 encrypted platforms and 2 phones. Didn't they say something about Iran? Didn't they try to blame it on Iran? Or they were trying to say Iran was trying to do something else? I don't know if they implicated Iran in that one. But I did hear some rumblings to that effect. Democracy does not exist. Prove me wrong. Thank you. Appreciate that. Cool Blue.
Not here, don't.
And that's true. If Trump flips New Jersey, he will also flip Illinois, except 1948. They have voted the same for U.S. president since 1892. Look at that trivia from Cool Blue.
Interesting.
That's a deep cut. A 2020 Biden won New Jersey by 16 and Illinois by 17. Thank you, Cool Blue. Appreciate that. Okay. All right. We got a couple more stories that we're going to do before we close the lights on today's stream. All right, these last 2 segments here are Disney-related segments, but they are a different kind of Disney segment here.
We're going to make this show the happiest place on earth.
That's right, the happiest place on earth, boys and girls. Well, it wasn't the happiest place on earth for this guy who tried to get into the park wearing a Free Palestine shirt and was seemingly denied entry.
Here.
It's ALLOWED for future reference if you're going to try to go viral, but I appreciate the sentiment nonetheless. All right, here we go.
Here. Where did you put it?
If you're recording, please back up with the phone. We're not recording. Stand back now.
Okay.
We're not recording.
I just want to see what you guys are.
On the other side. No, we're
now
not
I gotta back up.
You gotta stay on that side.
Okay, right? I want to see why you guys are not letting me in the park. You said because my shirt says Free Palestine, they're not letting me in the park. Because my shirt says Free Palestine, they're not letting me in the park. Because my hat says Free Palestine, they're not letting me in the park. Because I'm Palestinian, they're not letting me in the park. Discriminatory. This is America or is this Israel? What the fuck? Because my shirt says Palestine, they're not letting me into Disney World. This is crazy. I thought we were in America. Where are we? My shirt says Palestine, they won't let me in the park. Isn't that insane? They're not letting me in the park because my shirt says Palestine. I doubt that's the reason. Why aren't you guys letting me in the park?
Right.
Was there a
What
reason?
other reason would there be?
Let's go in the park then.
Was there another reason? Yeah, that's something.
Okay, and this is why Disney, perhaps better than any other corporation, really demonstrates on an almost daily basis the performative nature of what can broadly be termed social justice. This is one of the most evil fucking companies. And I think with Disney, look, are they any worse in terms of their hypocrisy than, say, Goldman Sachs? I'm sure not. Because their business is to produce entertainment, the contradictions between their messaging and the way they actually run is just very visible. It's very obvious and clear in a way that what goes on in the hiring policies of Goldman Sachs versus its rhetoric are just not as obvious because they're not putting out Frozen. You know, nobody's looking at ideologically these cultural products that they have out in the world. So Disney has long been pretty notorious for abusing workers.
Well, hold on. Before we get into that, though, because I do want to play a part of this again. Before we come off of this, there's something that I gotta just put here. So,
my shirt says Palestine, they won't let me in the park. Isn't that insane? They're not letting me in the park because my shirt says Palestine. I doubt that's the reason.
You doubt that's the reason. So here's the thing. If that's not the reason, you're a cop, it looks like. Why wouldn't they have alerted you? Like, if the guy was causing a problem
right.
to the point where they feel he needs to be denied entry, don't you think you would be the first person they would tell about it? You're a cop on the scene. If he seemed dangerous, if he seemed erratic, if there was any safety concern, you're the guy they would alert to that. So why are you coming in saying, well, I doubt they don't want you in here because you have a Free Palestine shirt? Well, if it was for a legitimate reason, wouldn't you be the first person they would notify?
Right.
You're standing right there. You're a police officer.
Right.
Like, if they wanted him out for a good reason, they'd have told you why. You wouldn't be like, I guess that's not why they want you out.
Right. Right, yeah. And if somebody, I promise you, and I'm sure this happens every day, given the volume of people they have going through there, I am sure when people show up with their Stars of David and Israeli flag shirts, they don't have a problem with that.
Yeah,
I'll let you in with that.
I'm also sure that if anyone did have a problem with that, it would be all over the news. Every single outlet would be talking about that.
Oh, yes.
Front to back.
Oh, yes. And then Disney wants you to give them all this credit for having a black mermaid.
Right.
That's
exactly.
all well and good having a black mermaid, but this is the reality. This is the reality of who Disney are as a corporation. That stuff is all for show. They don't actually give a shit about the communities that they claim to be supporting through their work.
Yep, indeed. All right, now we can go on to the labor piece. I just wanted to play that there because I just thought it was amazing. The cop comes in. Well, I'm sure they had a reason. Well, if they had a reason, then why wouldn't they tell you? You're the cop.
Yeah. So throw that up. I don't know where you put it.
Oh, okay. Let's see where we got. Here we go.
All right. So Disney workers for a long time were living on food stamps and welfare. Eventually they were able to pressure them into raising the wages first to 15, and then last year the union was able to win an $18 to $21 wage range, which is still not a great wage. We talked about that a little with Kshama Sawant, what it takes to live in each state, but it's better than it used to be. The Disney workers used to get paid, I think, $11 an hour on average until 2019. So try living on that.
Not only that, but it's almost impossible to have any career advancement within the organization when you work at the parks, because I know
Right.
people, I know tour guides in New York who were from that area who used to work at the parks. They cycle out the park workers. It's not like you could
Right.
start at the park and build a
Right.
career there. No, they cycle you
Become
out.
the
So
CEO. Yeah.
exactly, you're right. You can't. There's no like I started at the park and I moved my way up and now I'm whatever senior vice president of talent or marketing. Whatever. No. The park people, they pay you for your time and they get rid of you. It's like per diem. Thanks. Move on.
In the entertainment field, because every now and then actors and actresses will go down there to work at Disneyland. I've never heard any of them say anything good about the experience of working for Disney, and that extends to other areas as well. They're notoriously exploitative with production people, with what we call below the line people, the people behind the scenes, animators. Complain about being worked to death for very little pay.
Right.
And that's part of why supposedly a lot of their graphics work and special effects are looking increasingly shitty, because they're trying to squeeze every penny that they can out of these animators, and there's just only so much quality they can get for what they're willing to pay. So this, according to people who have experienced it, is a problem throughout the organization, not just in the parks, but the parks have always had a reputation for being particularly brutal. So they have voted to authorize a strike. Thousands of workers at Disney's theme parks and resorts in Southern California announced late Friday night that they have authorized a strike, citing alleged unfair labor practices during recent contract negotiations. 4 unions representing more than 14,000 workers at Disneyland, Disney California Adventure, Downtown Disney, and Disney-owned hotels announced the walkout, saying its members overwhelmingly voted in favor after hundreds of alleged labor violations by Disney, quote, interfered with the unions getting the fair contract cast members deserve. They said of the members who participated in the vote, 99% voted in favor of authorizing the strike. However, an exact number was not released. Quote, today's overwhelming unfair labor practice strike authorization vote sends a clear message to the company. We are stronger together and will not be divided by scare tactics, the Disney Workers Rising Bargaining Committee said in a statement on Friday, adding, quote, we make the theme parks profits and the magic you find across the resort. But instead of rewarding our hard work and dedication, Disney is intimidating, surveilling, and unlawfully disciplining members, harming our negotiations and our ability to get the contract we deserve. The authorization does not mean a strike will happen immediately, and both sides could reach a deal. If a strike does happen, it would be the first at Disneyland in 40 years. Quote, we are fed up with being pushed around by Disney and are ready to fight back against its unfair labor practices, David Hernandez, who is a member of the bargaining committee and monorail operator, said in a statement. The union said they have been negotiating a new contract with Disney since April 24th. Nearly 2 months later, on June 10th, Disney workers announced that they had filed unfair labor practice charges against the company. The charges concerning more than 675 workers are now being investigated by the National Labor Relations Board. Okay, so part of this filing is because they were distributing a button to their members. And this is, let me see, I got to go full screen with this. Yeah, so this was the button. Now, some of you might know, we were going to do an animation because of this. So Steamboat Mickey is now public domain. Otherwise, they could actually get them not to use this.
Right.
But now the way Mickey is represented in that original costume, that is all public domain, which allows them to do this. So let me go full screen with this. Today, Disney cast members announced that they have filed unfair labor practice charges against Disney on behalf of 13,000 workers at the resort for unlawful discipline, intimidation, and surveillance of union members exercising their right to wear union buttons at work. Over 550 cast members were intimidated, surveilled, and disciplined for wearing union buttons in support of their contract campaign. The charges will now be investigated by the NLRB agents. This is protesting ahead of the vote on July 17th. Ahead of the vote, hundreds of Disneyland employees protested outside the world-famous theme park on July 17th, calling for better wages and denouncing anti-union practices. A Disneyland representative told CBS News in a statement that the strike authorization is not unusual as part of a negotiation process, and that the company looks forward to continuing discussions in upcoming meetings on Monday and Tuesday. Quote, "We greatly appreciate the important roles our cast members play in creating memorable experiences for our guests, and we remain committed to reaching an agreement that focuses on what matters most to them while positioning Disneyland Resort for growth and job creation," the representative said, adding that the parks continue to welcome guests. The four unions that represent the workers are the bakery, confectionery, tobacco workers, and grain millers, Local 83, the SEIU, United Service Workers West, the Teamsters Local 495, and the United Food and Commercial Workers Local 324. They said they are seeking fair wages, a fair attendance policy, seniority increases, and safe parks for cast members. The union cited economic hardship for their members, including food and housing insecurity. Quote, "Instead of rewarding our hard work and dedication, Disney is intimidating, surveilling, and unlawfully disciplining members, harming our negotiations and our ability to get the contract we deserve." The contract for cast members at Disneyland expired on June 16th, while the contract for Disney California Adventure and Downtown Disney workers expires on September 30th. The bargaining committee said it is committed to negotiations on Monday and Tuesday, but said the strike authorization allows it to call a strike at any time. Friday, four unions representing more than 14,000 workers at Disneyland, Disney California Adventure, Downtown Disney, and Disney-owned hotels announced the walkout, saying its members overwhelmingly voted in favor after hundreds of alleged labor violations by Disney. This is the image that Disney wants to project, right? Just on a final point here, a little side note. The Marvels. There's never been such a feminist, diverse superhero movie, black and Pakistani and white all coming together, the Charlie's Angels of our times. And here's the reality of Disney. Oh, Disney's legal woes mount as exec notes pay equity nightmare in unsealed court documents. The company is facing a still growing class of nearly 9,000 women, alleging they were paid less than their male counterparts. Image, reality. That's the reality at Disney. So I think it's important to point out here, when people think of Disney, they think of Disney World. This is Disney California.
Yeah,
Disneyland is Disney California.
Yes.
So while in Florida, an $18 to $21 wage is livable-ish, you're not going to live great. California, man, you're on food stamps.
Oh,
That chart we showed with Kshama yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
California, it's over $100,000 a year. It's something like $112,000, $120,000
for just a single adult, not family.
For a single adult to be able to live. Yeah. You're making $18 an hour there.
This is Anaheim. This is Orange County. So forget about living anywhere near the park. You're talking about a huge commute in, which in California is very expensive because gas is very expensive. It takes a ton of time to get to work because traffic is a bitch. So you can't afford to live in Orange County. I mean, that's Very, very big money. So you're talking about at least minimum half-hour drive into work and back. Probably twice that if you're going at peak times.
Way.
Right?
California's a nightmare.
Traffic.
Nightmare.
Yeah. Sitting in traffic, you're idling the car, you're going through what? I mean, how much? It is not an exaggeration to say that at $18 to $21 an hour, you're probably an hour's worth of your wage is the gas getting to and from work at that rate. That's really not an exaggeration. I mean, what was gas? $6 a gallon when you were out there?
It was like $5.70.
Yeah, $5.70 a gallon.
Yeah.
So if you get 15 miles to a gallon and you're coming in from 30 miles away, which is again not inconceivable because it's in a very expensive part of LA County, or it's in Anaheim, so that's Orange County. Yeah, I mean, you're talking about an hour's worth of wages just on the gas getting to and from work at $18 to $21 an hour. Think about that. Think of how fucking insane that is.
Right. This is one mitigating factor in, yes, New York is a very expensive city, but it is one of the only places in the country you can live comfortably without a car.
Right. There's cheap and reliable transportation.
Yeah. All the gas, insurance, repairs expense, I don't have any of that. That does mitigate it. It used to be LA on the other end, the rent was so much cheaper that it was kind of a wash. Now you don't even have that. Now it's more expensive to live in LA than in New York because the rent's not cheap anymore and you need a car.
Right. Yeah, no, just incredible. But it's good to see that they are organizing and that they have voted to authorize a strike because as someone who's known people, I've known people who've worked at the Orlando park, not the LA park. It's just a horrible dead end labor situation. And
right.
So it's about time that this happened. It's long overdue in Disney's case.
Yeah. And actually, I have talked in the past about how a lot of these channels that really criticize Disney as a company, because of the way that Disney has presented these social issues, they have gone conservative because they feel like, well, if that's what left is, then I'm right. One cool thing about this is getting covered on those channels.
Right.
So I am hoping it kind of infects the bloodstream with a pro-union stance because the enemy of my enemy, right? The union is fighting Disney, so maybe get some of those creators to support unions.
That's right. Get the mouse. Get the mouse, as they say. All right. Brendan McNamara, thanks for the $5. Dems are always blaming someone for the public reaction to their mismanagement. The public wants to punish neoliberals, not Biden. Kamala won't help. Thank you, Brendan McNamara. Appreciate that. David Ackerman says Kamala won't implode. They're going to pull a Black Swan event and do the old switcheroo. I think she's going to be the nominee. That's what I'm telling you. Garland Nixon showed specific books. Okay. I'd like to know what those books are, actually. I'd be very curious.
I would like to know. I mean, look, we respect him. I'm not saying he's wrong.
Yeah.
I'd like to know what they are, though.
Yeah, I would like to know what they are, for sure. The end of the Hey Marianne rant should have read, and then she could say, you sound like you're from New York. I call back to Keaton's fear and loathing in the campaign trail. That's right. Thank you, $1 Million Trooper. Appreciate that. Wow, Tusker got a head start. What theory are you reading? Also, Keaton, my name is Crab Eater Seal, a large seal known for its weird teeth and misnomer name. They eat krill, not crab. Interesting. What books did you order? They want to know.
I mean, this is like real theory. This is like writings by Mao and Lenin. I got one from Lenin that seems interesting. Imperialism, the highest form of capitalism. Look, I think being closed off to what people think, it doesn't mean you have to agree. Although I suspect I will probably agree with most of the theory. It's the solutions that have come out of some of these theories that I take exception to. And as some people have mentioned in the chat, we were talking about it. Is China even communist at this point, or is that state capitalism? Like, what are we talking about? But hey, man, I'm curious because it is something that's relevant. It's relevant to a lot of people around the world. You know, it's not like sitting there and studying Scientology because you don't like Scientology. What's the point? Who does that affect? But this affects, over 1 billion people. It's worth looking into.
I mean, where does communism end and state capitalism begin? Couldn't you just call that a modern incarnation of communism? Like, things don't stay the same forever.
Maybe you could.
Yeah.
Maybe you could. I honestly, with China, with Vietnam, which a lot of you know, I plan on traveling there next year. That's another reason that I'm looking at this more. I can't tell you what I think. I haven't been there. I'll tell you after I go. And right now I'm doing a lot of preparatory reading to inform myself so that I can have the best possible knowledge insofar as I'm capable before I go to process what I'm seeing through.
2 patsies are better than 1 in foul play. Thank you, Dr. 12. At least Cheatle can go guard Doritos again. Thank you, Topher. Rorschach, the fan reaction to Acolyte would make a good thesis on religious fanaticism and xenophobia in Western commercial culture. Thank you, Rorschach.
Well, my Star Wars essay is coming, and I mean, it's not really about the Acolyte. It's about the whole Star Wars phenomena and the backlash and why people care that much. I covered it from a broader perspective.
There you go. Aodon R, thank you for the $10. When I was young, someone asked my dad why he never took us to Disneyland, and he said, because I love my children. It's funny, I never really loved it either. Your dad is
based.
Yeah. I never loved it. I mean, it's fun, but, I mean, it's a fortune. That's the other thing. They take in so much fucking money at these parks. They pay people $18 an hour. What is it, like $100 a head to get in? That's before you sell them all the shit when they get in.
Well, now that's another thing.
Yeah.
Like, Disney has gotten so greedy with what you have to pay. They went away from it being this is the Florida park. It's no longer one ticket for everything. Now you got to pay for the different parks.
It's a la carte. Yeah, just crazy. Sparky, maybe Crooks was supposed to be caught creating a "you go girl" moment for the DEI Secret Service. I doubt that. Since they failed to catch him, Trump might be eliminated. So either way, the establishment. I doubt they set this up as a "you go girl" moment. That would be.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, that would be quite the thing.
I don't think they were going for Yas Queen.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I don't think that was the plot there. But thank you, appreciate that. It almost seemed like Crooks Handers told him to be conspicuous. Apparently, they forgot to tell him that he'd immediately be silenced. Well, the idea that the people recruit people like this, that the FBI may have recruited that or somebody may have recruited. Yeah, I mean, that's totally plausible. I'm just saying I don't see that person there sitting at that hearing as being some sort of insider. That just seemed like a hapless, sad sack. To clarify, YouTube always refreshes periodically when watching streams, probably because I'm too cheap to pay for the ad-free version. Oh, interesting. Do they run ads on our streams, though? I didn't think they do that. I didn't even monetize this stream. I didn't even choose to run ads on this stream. So are they actually putting advertisements on the stream? That's weird. Let me make sure. I'm pretty sure I didn't run any ads on this stream. Are they running ads on our streams anyway, even though we're not monetizing them? That'd be fucked up.
I think they do that.
That shit would be fucked up and bullshit. They should compromise and accept a yearly Mickey Mouse head-shaped pizza party. Thank you. Yes, a pizza party. That's right. Yeah. Employers should compensate the commute taking my time anyway. They should pay that. I think that's true. I think that's fair. Or at least some sort of like stipend on top of it. Because time is money, man.
Oh, damn.
What's that?
Somebody mentioned Disney stock crashing because it's been on a heavy downward trajectory, but no, it took another dip down. It's all the way down at $90.99 at this moment.
Oh, wow.
That's a big at the time they had that vote where Peltz was trying to get on the board to try to counter Iger, and Iger was able to marshal the support, including from George Lucas, who was one of the large shareholders, to keep Peltz off the board. Peltz was smart, man. The stock was at 118, and he was like, all right, fuck it. I'm cashing out. He cashed out. Now it's at 91.
Wow. There you go.
That's a big crash.
Michael Castillo, here's some diaper money, sir. Jimmy Carter has died at 99. No, he hasn't. He hasn't. That's a false rumor. I checked into that though.
Okay.
I think you fell for another one. That's the second fake death rumor of his that's gone on in a while. But yes, that was circulating a lot on Twitter earlier, apparently, because I checked it when you tweeted that, because I would have pulled that up, and we would have done a little segment on it. But apparently not. Apparently not. So good news. Hey, maybe he could take Kamala Harris's place if she craters in the polls. Or Ron Carter. Eels. Thanks. That's an interesting super chat. Appreciate that.
Okay.
The Indian
not
Hindi.
Today, my friend. Not today.
Not today. The Indian Hindi pronunciation of her name is Kamala. The second syllable A is very short. So Kamala. There you go. All right. There you go. Well, we should force people to say it that way. You know, if they think they're going to score woke points by lecturing people how to pronounce her name, we should say that. It's Kamala. There you go.
Yeah.
I
don't you
hope
say it the proper Indian way?
Yeah, why don't you say it the proper Indian way, or else you're a hater. I hope I invented Kamala Harris. I know it's a long shot. That's a good one. I like that. I mean, you're the first person I've heard say that. So yeah, I think you may be the first. That is certainly original. I should have anticipated your answer. YouTube refreshes without ads. Oh, okay. Thank you. I got you. All right. Nazam, I'm hearing rumors Joe Biden is dead. Yeah, those seem to be false as well. We have a proof of life from His Highness. He said that they tweeted out something that shows he is still kicking.
Have you ever watched? They have Paul McCartney filling in for him right now.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Have you ever watched the South Park parody of Disney with Mickey Mouse as the tyrannical honcho boss? I have.
Yes,
good one.
Of course.
Very good one. I like that one a lot.
Oh, thank you. I knew I had that image in my head somewhere. That's going to wind up in my Star Wars video. You can take credit for that. You just jogged my memory of where I had that image of like Mickey Mouse raging.
Mouse, right.
Yes.
Yep. No, South
There
Park.
you go. Thank you.
JM, thanks for the $2. Appreciate that very much. RG Raymond, how about having Danny Haifong back on to discuss China? He's one of the best sources you could possibly ask for. Well, maybe when he's there.
Well, when I get closer to the time that I'm going to be going there, I am going to reach out to him for advice about how to travel.
I'm sure he can hook you up with a great hotel room. There we go. Yes, we got it. Kamala, thank you, my real name. Appreciate that. Okay, and yes, the Indian pronunciation here, it says Khan to strike. Means literally clumsy or incapacitated. It says Khan to strike over on Rumble. Interesting. Man, you guys are sharp on this. Yes.
So why would you name anyone that?
I don't know. That maybe, who knows? I've never heard of another Kamala. If you want theory pertinent to the current moment, The Impending Catastrophe and How to Combat It by Lenin. There you go. Did she recommend that one to you? Did Tusker recommend that one to you?
She recommended a few things to me. What the hell do I have? You know what? Next show, I'll have them on the table. I'll show you what books I got.
Alrighty.
For Thursday, I will show them to you.
Well, the next show is when we will see you next, because this show is over. Appreciate you all being here very much. Make sure you tune in at 8 o'clock tonight. Our full interview with the great Kshama Sawant airs in its entirety tonight at 8 p.m. on YouTube and Rumble. I'm going to upload it into Rumble Studio right now as soon as we jump off of this stream. So you will catch us later. You're not going to want to miss that one, folks. If you're subscribed to our Substack, our Patreon, or our locals, even if you're subscribed as free members, you do have newsletter announcements for that. So join for free and you'll get the link. Go ahead.
All right. So what I have is Imperialism, the Highest Stage of Capitalism, Mao on Contradiction and Practice, and State and Revolution.
There you go. What about the Bernie book? What about Our Revolution? Did she recommend that to you?
I didn't feel I could learn very much from that.
There we go. I like Kamala, How Evil, as my Paraguayan friend, survivor of several U.S. coups d'etat, calls her. That's clever, Ellen. Kamala. That's a good one. We might go with that one. I like that one. That's my favorite. Thank you, Ellen.
That's good.
Appreciate that. And thank you to Random for becoming a new member. Appreciate that very much. All right, folks, 8 p.m., our full interview with the great Kshama Sawant. It was a terrific interview. We're super proud of it. We're super excited to share it with you all. That's going to be premiering in its entirety at 8 o'clock. It's 2 hours long, so you guys can come and chat it up while you're watching that. Just like we're live, except we will not be live. We'll be pre-recording. We'll be hanging out in the chat with you probably. And so we hope you guys enjoy that very much. That is 8 o'clock tonight on both YouTube and Rumble. We thank you all very, very much for being here. We will see you back here Thursday for Morning Dew, 9 a.m., bright and early. Be there. Thanks very much for this afternoon. Until we see you again, be safe and be well.
Courage.
Please clap.